I don't know if if you go live just for your channel to say something to indicate it, or we could just keep talking. It's fine by me either way. Because to be honest, we're doing pretty well so far. We're not all just sitting here listening to the sounds of our breathing, which is already an achievement.
To the new ones in the chat, the code word is dongoloid. Don't forget it.
Dongoloid.
What does that mean? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Don't worry, it means a donkey. I don't know why he likes the word so much.
Can you still hear my breathing?
I don't know why you like donkeys so much, bro.
Hey, don't worry, it's a Mexican thing. You wouldn't understand it.
Holy crap! Okay.
The way in which we say thank you to each other is by telling the other person to buy a donkey.
Makes sense.
Fellow ass man. Fair play to you.
What is the Mexican word for donkey, everywhere? Is it dongoloid?
Burro.
Burro.
Let's see. There's burro.
Well, for donkey, it's burro. For dongoloid, it's just. Negative.
So a burro is basically a donkey in your language.
Wait, what?
What?
A burro is basically a donkey in your language.
No, it's burro.
No.
B-U-R-R-O.
It sounds pretty similar to me, bro.
I think burro will translate directly to farmer, if I'm correct. Granjero.
If don't even bother with that. We just use chloroform.
Oh.
You guys still hear my breathing?
On a small channel. Don't worry, it's just only like he only has a few hundred subscribers and 30,000 views.
I really want to ask this question.
What is this on YouTube or?
Yeah, he'll send it to you afterwards. Don't worry.
Should go on live.
He usually just posts like news feeds and stuff, like big shit when that happens, like directly from the news channel. But I think he's trying to grow his channel otherwise as well.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean,
but I just want to add, as far as the the segregation between, let's call it the minority of South Africa, is also those that are leaving. Like, we shouldn't be going traitors and the remainers. There should be a cohesion. Work as like a global community that empowers each other.
You mean like the Jewish diaspora?
Yeah, amongst other diasporas. I mean, officially, even to Wikipedia, they call, in many documents I've seen, where they call the South African diaspora. We are technically.
We have a few people in Argentina for some reason.
There's a problem with that, and as a Mexican, it's a problem we run into. We have the people that leave to the USA, and they will call themselves Mexican Americans. Yeah, Chicanos and stuff.
Yeah. Oh god, I hate those people.
But the people that leave, and I don't know if it's true for South Africans, but it's true for Mexicans. They renounce their culture.
It's true for all races and culture, like cultures.
Anyone that leaves their country will eventually. I mean,
what are you leaving your country for? It's money. It's money.
Even Australia tries to stay like a British.
Let me finish it. Let me finish. They leave, and then they join the American Army and the American police force, and they never come back. And so you have this group of people that go around calling themselves Mexican, that barely fucking speak Spanish, and they would never step on Mexico if given the choice.
But to be honest, they call themselves Mexicans for the money grabs.
Yeah, so we have this strong fucking brain drain of people that just leave, never to come back. And yeah, they are very proud of being Mexican, but deep down they hate the country.
Can I ask you how you get your American accent?
What?
Yeah,
That's good.
Nice.
that's good. Yeah, only you can see that. That's why I put it there. I'm reposting it in general chat.
All right.
That sounds fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how
it
do you
works.
get your American accent? The guy
It
who
works.
just spoke about
Oh,
Mexico.
you're
Yep.
asking me about my American accent?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the part in the video.
Oh, that's just the
It
way I
definitely
speak
doesn't
English,
sound
but
Mexican.
I'm Mexican.
No, he's Mexican. Don't worry
Wow.
about it.
I live in
I've
Mexico
seen him.
City. I'm not American at all.
It's to do
I
with
mean,
the
if you
internet,
watch,
man. Yeah.
you want, we
The
can
more
speak
time you spend on
Spanish
the
with you.
internet.
The weirder you sound eventually. Like I don't
Yeah.
have a typical Afrikaans accent either. I don't like if I heard either of you, I wouldn't say you're Mexican.
Look, in my opinion, Mexico is it's a unique problem because the Mexican
Oh, yeah, of
mass
course.
migration. Because
Definitely.
they should be.
Mexico. Go ahead.
It's pretty much, well, by the looks of it, from a foreigner, it's like it's run by the Mexican drug cartel. Or a lot of the lifestyles is affected by the Mexican drug cartel to the point where, am I cutting out at all?
No, no, I can hear
you're
you.
fine. You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
So it seems like I mean, what is the identity? Where's the Mexican identity? Is it like if you run away from the Mexican drug cartel and you go start a life in America and join the American military? Yeah, you could say that's some way or renouncing Mexican roots, but staying there and pretending everything's fine, isn't that just condoning the crisis in Mexico as well?
It's not condoning. What I'm trying to get at, because Mexico and
being
South
silent.
Africa. No, let me finish. Mexico and South Africa are different countries. We have different problems, even though we are similar in many ways. I'm telling you, people leaving the country will work against you in the long run.
Definitely.
Because,
let's be honest, though. But let's be honest. That's something straight here. People who walk in the very country walk against you already. So, I mean, I don't see what's the difference there.
Yeah, it's a big generalization.
Yeah. People that leave, sure, they might help you, but their children won't. Their children are no longer South African.
No, I think that's a massive. That's a massive generalization. Like how I started, the Jewish community.
We're not going off of statistics or anything. We're just going off of what we've seen. I agree with him. That's how I've experienced it as well from just all the hundreds of people I've spoken to. The children are less inclined to feel any sense of belonging to the parent.
It definitely depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Something interesting that Danger Time mentioned earlier was the victimization that tends to happen in South Africa. And I just have to say that happens with the migrants that leave Mexico as well, because they have this identity of being the victims and claiming against their own benefactors, which is America in this case. And they just want to seek out as many benefits as they can, sort of like squeezing the mouth like a lemon.
When we mentioned that earlier with the whole victimhood thing, we meant it specifically in South Africa with South Africans who want to get political power this way, which might not be the best tactic to do so. We didn't actually specifically talk about people who left the country, because I think people who leave the country generally, this might go against what Dave said, but generally you get many that try to integrate with the country they move towards. So they drop their past completely. They don't bring it up again.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when people are leaving South Africa, they're not like they're just like looking for a better job or better like work, you know, for their family or whatever, for themselves. So a lot of the times, like there's probably some people who still care about like white South Africans, but later down the line, and even then, they like even if they care, it's not gonna really do much. You know, we don't have that like kind of built thing as like kind of like the Jewish diaspora.
Yeah. The Jews, like even in the Middle Ages, they had a different like they like, I could be wrong, but I think Jews only screw Jews, so they only reproduce among each other. Even like they were very strict about that. Jews kept their religion, their culture, everything, and they stick together in like their whole accumulated groups. And they have that thing where they come together every certain period of time to re-strengthen family bonds, etc. And like, Afrikaans people don't do that. English, South African people definitely don't do that. So the Jewish diaspora specifically is a very extreme example of how people can survive without a country.
Well, I think it's the most successful.
Well, I don't think
it
you
is the most successful. Yes,
the Jews,
but it's a very extreme example.
Yeah, you should not compare yourself to the Jews.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll make my point later.
I disagree
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because the Jews, they're supremacists. The Jews they have an ethnic religion that tells them they are the chosen people and gives them the right to do atrocious things to people that are not them. Look at what they do to the Palestinians.
Yeah, but that's going deeper into the actual whether that came before the tight unit Jewish diaspora.
Yeah, I mean it's irrelevant to the track itself. Yep.
It's like an egg and the chicken argument. What came first, the Jewish supremacy or the actual tight unit community?
That actually goes deeper because the Jews are ancient.
Let's move off the Jews for one. Okay, let's move off the Jews for a second.
All right.
I've been in the UK, and I've worked with the Indian community, and they are very committed to helping their Indian families, and they create businesses in whether it's you could argue that it's for financial, but I see it as a massive booster for Indians in India with people with their community moving abroad to Western cultures, earning Western currencies, and then offshoring. That like it's so much more complicated than saying if you immigrate, you're just going to turn against your own culture. I think we're oversimplifying things. It could happen. I'm not saying it doesn't. I think a lot of people are very, they're so liberal in the sense that they don't even care about anything as far as their culture. They just want to. I think people denounce it. Look at America. We're singing about how terrible America is, and America is going through such a crisis, identity crisis. Where they're living inside the country and they're denouncing America. I think moving across a few borders to a couple of thousand miles away doesn't, cast people into an abyss or betrayal.
I can kind of get your point, but I also would disagree with that, because the whole purpose of people moving in the first place is to seek kind of material benefits rather than staying and helping their kind of people, as you would say.
Material benefit.
Woman, the feminine trait is to first seek security over materialistic.
Yeah, I was about to say that myself. It's not in terms of women, though.
I'm saying many South African women want to leave South Africa for their safety, not because of their materialistic needs.
Mr. Peter, majority of the people I've spoken to seem to leave the country for security reasons, to be honest.
Yeah, but
not for jobs.
It's not just for jobs and it's also safety, but that has to do with the material conditions around you. The material conditions around you dictate the security and the jobs, the infrastructure, everything, right? So the material conditions is the be all and end all of most societies.
I thought you meant for jobs and just seemed
no, that's not the only reason. I'm just when I refer to material conditions. I did say material benefits. Sorry, I should have clarified. I should have mentioned material conditions, because that is probably the reason most people do anything in life.
I always consider if people just move towards material conditions that are better and better, then eventually you're actually going to end up with nations of people who just keep moving. No one actually gives a shit to stay and fix things.
Oh yeah, but I'm not saying it's a good thing
for you, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? That's not what people should be doing, right? That's what people are doing. Not all of them, of course. Some of them either can't afford to or don't want to because they've got other reasons they want to stay. That of nationalism or something, right? I want to raise a child in this country rather than on this land, rather than disperse amongst the all of the international countries and just disintegrate into the void.
First time I heard you say that.
No, that's a common thing, isn't it?
What is your ethnicity though? Because you're part Scottish and part fucking Croatian, was it? Or Greek, yeah.
Well, I suppose that means you can marry either, right?
Yeah, I could either. Well,
yeah, there you go.
Greek wife, or will I get a Scottish wife?
Well, if you get a Scottish wife,
you can do both, bro. Maybe you can get two wives, one that's Scottish, one that's Greek.
Sorry, yeah.
Just don't let them meet each other, right?
Just adding to the topic of immigration for material reasons, would it be fair to say that people consider leaving a country or moving somewhere to obtain elements as put out in Maslow's hierarchy? Would that be a fair comment?
In what's hierarchy? Sorry.
Maslow's Maslow.
Well, Maslow's hierarchy already. You suggest.
Go ahead.
But the thing is, what I find ironic about especially from the Afrikaans is, I don't think vlakvaart is just material. I mean, according to mainstream opinion, it's actually not even mainstream opinion. The likes of Willem Petzer saying that most of the migration from the Dutch to South Africa was to avoid religious persecution. That's an example of how it's not materialistic. So this topic's about unifying. To dismiss people leaving the country as just some sort of selfish material gain is pretty contradictory.
No, I'm not saying that it's necessarily like a selfish materialistic gain, right? The material conditions are pretty shit in this country, which will influence a myriad of different factors, that being security, and access to jobs, and that is why people will leave ultimately. So it'll be an indirect factor. Now, of course, there are other people's like influences within it, individuals' influences within other people's decisions, that being like idealistic ones or like religious ones, right? Ones that are more abstract than material. Of course, that is also true. But as we're looking at now, we aren't being religiously persecuted, or people aren't leaving because of like religious persecution.
Oh, just read hold on. Just read the English voice chat to see the graph that Celestial was talking about a second ago. It's in the English voice chat.
Why is
Yeah.
it
Right above us. Yeah, it's fine. I don't care. I don't think anyone here would mind either.
The point I'm trying to make is to can't just simplify migration, especially away from a situation like South Africa. There's a very founding fathers, which I don't agree on. I believe that a lot of the Afrikaans migration to South Africa was not just to avoid Catholic persecution; it was also very government oriented. It was the expansion of Netherlands, and even during Napoleon,
Yeah.
Napoleon controlled Netherlands and occupied many influences over the Cape of, and even to when the Dutch ceded power, it wasn't the Afrikaner Boer, it was the Dutch government who ceded power.
Oh wait, Danger Dave, we actually talked about this in DMs, and the thing I said to you, like on this topic, is you said like it's contradictory to be okay with the forefathers leaving the Netherlands, but the modern Afrikaner shouldn't leave South Africa. There's a contradiction there. The thing I said was okay, so like back in the day they wanted to form a new country, and I was fine with that's fine. Like I can see the logic there. The reason I don't want people to leave this country is because I think it will collapse soon enough. If the ANC just continued on its current route and the country was falling apart slowly, then I would say leaving the country is definitely the best idea.
Yeah,
there would
definitely.
be absolutely no hope. But if something big goes wrong in the foreseeable future, then it would be better if people stayed here so they can actually benefit from it, maybe salvage the ruin. And just with the whole corona thing, that's been clearer and clearer because the ANC can't handle any disasters. So if something big would happen, like it's almost just like a hope to stay in the country that something would happen, and we're waiting for a miracle. And it's like I can see what you're saying, and I agree that it would be better to leave.
I'm not against anyone staying. But I don't want to be either for staying or leaving. People have the right to do what they want.
Can I just add something about the employment in South Africa? You know how they got this BEE in this country, right? And they want to employ like all the blacks here. I think because the blacks can't handle the fact that the white people are more educated than them, and they can't find their own people to fill their own jobs because all the whites are taking all the jobs, but yet we are the ones who are the most educated. We are the ones that go overseas to get a better education, and then when we choose to come back, then we still can't find a job because they choose not to pay us the right amount.
Oh, what do you mean? Is that the reason for people not to come back?
I know sometimes I don't know if you noticed, but there's lots of South Africans that move overseas, stay, for example, the UK or Australia for 10 years, and then move back to South Africa. Hence, the reason why they do that is because cost of living here in South Africa is cheaper, housing is cheaper, generally a lot of
property is worth nothing in South Africa. Holy crap, property prices here are insanely low.
Which means that you can live in quite a very good house.
Yeah, exactly right. My point exactly. My parents lived, for example, we lived in Australia. We lived in Australia for 12 years, and my parents said, right, we're going to buy a house here in South Africa. And let me tell you, a house here, a full brick house, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-garage, would have costed hundreds, if not millions of dollars in Australia. And here we are, my parents bought a house to equivalent to about 65,000 Australian dollars. I mean, you'll never buy a house for that price, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-garage in Australia, especially in Sydney. It's just too expensive. The median house price in Sydney is $1 million. And
Can I add to that?
Yes.
I'm currently living in the UK, and we spend, girlfriend and I, about 22,000 rand a month on rent for 1-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
So now, where's the materialistic gain you guys are talking about?
No, but okay. So my whole point of bringing that
Our
up is
total living standards have actually increased.
Sorry, your mic lag. Sorry, increased.
Yeah.
So our total living standards have increased since immigrating to the UK. So I don't see any material gain.
Okay, so what I see is I don't know what are the laws around pulling out your superannuation, but my dad went to Australia for me and my sister, because there was no education for me and my sister here in this country because we are white, and I wouldn't have gotten the qualifications that I have if I was continuing living in South Africa. Obviously, there is a con to it. There is a downside to it because other things that I don't want to talk about right now, but there is a lot of downsides to it. But in the long run, I have qualifications that I've never gotten in Australia, that I've never gotten in South Africa. That's the main reason why we lived in Australia. The whole goal was for us to come back to South Africa. We weren't predicting that South Africa was going to go to shit down lane as it is now. But, we're here now. We're just using what we got. But cost of living is a lot cheaper here than Australia. I'm sort of glad that, I came back because it's a lot cheaper here, even though I can't find a job right now. But it's not a huge problem at this point in time because I got some money that can keep me afloat.
And to respond to the whole thing with what's the material gain and stuff, I'm commenting on the larger majority of people who are leaving the country, not in individual cases. So you might anecdotally have but our cost of living is way high or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't care. That's an anecdote. I'm referring to the majority of people. Maybe you want there for education or security, as I've said. But all I said was that material conditions will influence your decisions in life. It's ultimate fact. If there's a famine, it's going to influence your decisions. If there's prosperity within your country, it's going to influence your decisions. To say that it's material conditions aren't important that's just dumb.
I'm not saying that. Obviously, there might be better jobs. I'm not saying that's. I didn't say it's one or the. I'm saying that this idea that people immigrate just to get wealthier and have a better lifestyle, I find it hard to believe. Most people that leave, especially that go to the UK and Europe, which is the cost of living is just so high per square meter. If you want everything is super high tax. There's barely. It's not the kind of lifestyle that you imagine. I would say maybe America could get in there.
Yeah.
My friends that live in Australia, I would say they are almost equal to the lifestyle of South Africa. But I just want to go back to the one comment that the other gentleman said about the flee of the Dutch from
Catholics. Yeah.
The thing is, they fled under religious grounds. Now, religion is interchangeable, where race isn't. So the grounds of the Dutch, actually, the founding fathers had less of a reason to flee, and yet they did.
I've seen more people go extreme for the religion than the race, though, to be honest.
But what I'm saying is you can just convert. No, but they
Yeah.
could have just converted to Catholicism and
on
gone
the-
under the radar.
Back in the day, religion still was your everything, bro. Like, I mean, like the way you look at race today is the way they looked at religion back in the day. I mean, people have
Well,
fought
if
such
you're-
fucking wars for hundreds
do
of
you
years for religion.
fella,
Like, religion
but then
was
how do
everything.
if you're willing,
If that's true,
if you're
then you
willing
wouldn't
to
have so
change
many
your
bro-
religion to save your life, are you really?
Yeah, then you're not
No, but hold
religious.
on,
That's the whole. That's
wait,
kind of
wait,
Yeah,
wait.
and everyone was religious
hold
back then. The peasantry
Let me
loved
answer.
religion.
Can I answer the question?
What
If
do you
that
mean
was
you're not
true-
religious?
If that was true, then you wouldn't have so many denominations of Christian faith.
No,
No,
that's
but
just
no, that's not
Protestantism.
converting.
That's nothing
That's
to do with
just-
that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
entirely
That's
different.
people
Church,
Yeah.
mate.
with
not.
different beliefs.
Protestantism is literally a religious dogma by which anyone can make their own church and their own. Like, it's just self-interpretation. Self-interpretation leads to more churches forming. It's just not like, rocket science.
Yeah,
It's
and like
just-
with
there's
the
no deeper meaning to it.
like
Well,
okay, so
let's
say now,
talk
wait,
about
so say now you've got like a big church, right? This is like the only church in the world, right? Which was like the old church, right? Now, obviously, then you got the Catholics and then you got the Orthodox. They broke away, right? I'm not too familiar with the history of it, but
It
now
was
like
politics. It was politics, not religion.
yeah,
So,
Yeah, with
yeah, I'm not too
politics.
familiar with the history of it. Like, so
Not much theology.
a schism happened, right? And regardless, it's like, what are you gonna pick? You're a Christian. You believe that Jesus is the Son of God or XYZ. So you're gonna pick one of these because these are your major two options. And then so it's not necessarily like a conversion thing. It's as more of it's like a decision thing, right? So like if you're born like and if you're in a world in which both of these sects already exist, or a new sect is born, and then like now the most of the people that's going to be brought into the religion are not going to be converted, but being born into the world.
Yep.
Well,
In the
sounds like
old days,
it's
specifically
a bit-
between Orthodox and Catholics, there wasn't actually a theological difference for like a good few hundred years, even after the schism. So let's say like
Yeah.
1,200 years into Christianity, it was the same religion, just with cultural differences.
It's
That's something to
really
note. The
funny.
Protestant Reformation was an entirely exclusive event in
It's
Western
really
Europe.
funny that something
it's
really
still-
funny that happens in the schism is that people really didn't even know about it, and they continued living on normally
Yeah.
their lives for 500 years.
But this is still opinion. I can tell you fact that I cannot change my skin color.
True.
So what I'm trying to say is,
Religion isn't interpreted as opinion; it's interpreted as fact, same as race.
no,
Like-
I'm saying that it's not fact that I'm Catholic. It's just an observation, belief, faith. I can change that, and there's many people that convert from Catholicism to Protestant. It's always happening, and you guys are treating it like it's just the same thing as a racial flood.
Because the Protestant Reformation was a massive event that had a very different implication to like its time and what happened than it does now. Like people convert now because it's more normal, because it's different, because information is freely available. But the Protestant Reformation was effectively a religious rebellion. It's
Okay, so
nothing the
let's
same.
talk about that. Talk about that.
Religion
Now,
is part of ethnic identity as well. You can't say that it isn't tied to your genetics when for thousands of years, Irish people anyway have been Catholic, right? And I know people nowadays who don't really believe in the religion, but they ethnically identify as Irish and therefore Catholic. It's inseparable from Irish identity.
Legally, that's
You
not
can't
correct. Can't
Huh?
say unless legally that's not correct. You can't say that.
legally. I don't care about law, like human-made
No,
law.
well, even
the fact
officially,
is that
you can't say that this person is Catholic by race.
legally, English legal structures, I could care less about. We're talking about facts here.
What's the fact that you're gonna? I can
The
go for
fact that the
DNA
vast
test.
majority of Irish people will identify with their historical religion, and it's only dissenters, very, very small percentages of the population.
What
roughly
he's saying is
2%.
you can't look at race as exclusivity. You need to look at the ethnicity with race. So
Yeah, like
that,
it's
that makes
that's
sense.
obvious.
it's intertwined.
It's not.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it is.
You can. There's an element.
You can't
that-
say that the Celtic
That's what the word
ethnicity.
culture is. Culture is where you have a culture that tends to be of that ethnic group and have religious practices and therefore a certain description of a culture. That's why the word culture exists. That's the
Well, with
And the word
theology,
ethnicity exists.
Wait, I just want to add something here before we go on about the Protestant movement that created the flight. That Protestant movement was pro multi-religious. factions.
Not really at
Well,
all.
it was
Not
the
at all.
first. Okay,
Multi-denominational, you mean?
so Calvinism,
still
even like
no. You want to know the biggest example of why that's
let
not
me just
true?
finish. Let me can argue. Just
Yeah, right, go
so
ahead.
so Willem Kentner even says that Calvinist movement was a very purist movement, and it was that was the founding principles of of the Boer. Now Calvinism was the first under King Louis XVI, who removed the Catholic ruling that you couldn't be anything other than Catholic. And it was the Calvinists and the Protestants who said that we welcome all religions, including Judaism. So they were very pro to have multi-religions. But then, as far as the South African Boer movement, they were against racial mixing. So how do you have one and not the other? Because you can have a very hostile religion against yours. So, as far as ethno states, are we going to have ethno states? But it's cool if you want to. So in a, let's say if we have an ethno state now, is it cool to have Sharia law, Afrikaners?
If Calvinism was
No.
pro other religions, why did the Afrikaans people start calling black people kafirs because they were pagans?
I'll say something interesting.
Paganism
from why did the
paganism
or shamanistic
they
there.
but Protestant Calvinism, they still worship the same God.
Yeah,
They just practice it different.
why did the Puritans have all those rebellions against the Anglicans in England? Why were
I
they
don't
kicked into the 13 colonies if they're
I
so
don't
pro
know.
other religions?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
they're not. Maybe
They
especially
were.
I don't know
in
that.
the
I'm just
United
saying this is
Yeah, right. Maybe in France it happened. Like I suppose it
no.
has to
Even
do
I'm
with
talking about the Netherlands as well. The reasons
Louis?
why the reason why there were multiple religions in Western Europe was because of the revolt from Protestant movement.
Yeah.
Also, were in the Netherlands part of the?
It's the word is denominations, by the way.
So in effect, the same founding principles of so-called ethno-South Africanism was built on multi-religious beliefs, which is kind of contradicting, I think. Because
Multi-religious is the wrong word, bro. It's multi-denominational, maybe, but not multi-religious. That's something entirely different. Like the Jew, they had a soft spot for the Jews because of the Old Testament thing, and they just
I'm
saw.
not talking about just the Jews. I'm saying,
like
I'm
the
saying
way they would treat African religions is a pure, clean example that they weren't multi-religious at all.
I'm saying the founding fathers.
I think there's a question I really have to ask. Like, how do you see, or how do you people generally see in South Africa the Anglicans, for example? You yourself being mostly Calvinists.
There's so many churches and denominations that just another church.
Right, but for example, didn't an Anglican Archbishop help Mandela?
Like this back in the day, there was like two churches for the Afrikaans people, the Dopplers and the NG Kerk, and for the English people, I think specifically there was the Anglican Church. So there was an old attachment that the church was a little more liberal and a little more English, but I think that's the extent of it.
So, okay, well, let's just actually reframe the question as far as sovereignty. We all have the right to sovereignty. Don't you think religion should be a factor as well?
Yes.
So then, was it wrong for the Catholics to oppress other rebellious religions?
Under that logic,
No, because homogeneity.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So they plead from the concept, go create another concept, not against religion, but against race. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but
when you break religious form, right, you become a different ethnicity, a different socio-cultural entity.
Yes.
So this is why the Afrikaners are different from Dutch people now, because they split off and became their own ethnicity. This is how ethnicities work. You know, the Protestants up in the north of Ireland, they're a different ethnicity to us entirely. Not because of their not because of their actual genetic component. They're fucking the exact same as us genetically, but because of their gay ethnic beliefs.
Well?
That's the way they are. Like,
oh, that was funny.
So then, what are grounds of sovereignty?
Sovereignty, ethnicity.
Just what? Okay, because it seems like we're going.
Yeah. Tradition.
Give us examples. Yeah. So okay. So if I can just clear this up, on race, you want like a sovereignty, right? Like whites and blacks, and we can see that there's a problem that always gets exploited by radical elitists.
We want an ethnic sovereignty, not a racial
I mean,
sovereignty.
So ethnic being what, like
In terms
European.
of yes, European, of a certain descent, conservative, blah blah blah, share the same nationalistic values, shame descent, a certain degree of homogeneity.
So same values. So if I was
Yeah, that's it's important.
if I was a if I was a Chechen and I was Europe but I was Muslim, would I be? Shouldn't that be a separate sovereign state?
If there are enough of you, yes, but if there's like I mean, if it's
Well,
just a
that's why you
small
get
group,
Chechen.
then no, then so you're an
Well, that's-
outlier.
Well, okay, you get what I'm coming at, is that if you get Europeans of totally different
Islam
faith,
is incompatible with Europeanism. It just is. Like,
so this
in
is
general.
what so you accept religion. Religion is a
Islam,
differentiating factor.
Islam is
Wait,
different though.
you
It's,
just-
like I actually read on Islam. The thing with Islam that makes it different from Christianity and maybe many other religions is that it's very, very political. It's like it's a religion that puts in specific state things for specific. It's a bad example of how it's just a religion that can't really integrate with things because they have
No,
Sharia
but-
law.
The history of Christian was very political as well.
Yeah, but we don't have theological
Christianity.
things telling us how to act in a political setup. Like we have those things like render unto Caesar
Yeah.
what comes unto Caesar, and we have like a basic frameworks for how we should act in a state.
Whether one's more than
Islam
the
has
other.
the whole political system written out for them in a perfect, in deep detail.
Yeah.
So it's a bad example in this case.
But to simplify the question, if let's say you had some Zoroastrians, right? Which
Yes,
is a religion. If they felt like they want to have a sovereign, you should accept it. Let them have a sovereign state based on their religion.
Zoroastrianism is actually a racial religion, so I don't know if that comes into your argument. You
I don't know
have to be
I
a
think-
specific race to be a Zoroastrian.
Well, no, sorry, but what's his name?
Okay, let's
Freddie-
make up a religion. Make up a religion. Okay, you believe in the flying.
Freddie Mercury looked very European. You're Zoroastrian, so I don't know how you get
No,
race.
Freddie Mercury actually had Persian ancestry, so he is an ethnic Zoroastrian.
He was born in Namibia.
Okay,
I
so
would
we
call
can
him
get into
European.
technical. All I'm saying is,
Holy shit.
where do
And that's a
where-
fact.
where do you support sovereignty? I support sovereignty on both religious and racial grounds.
The UN actually, you mentioned the other day that the UN says you can be sovereign if you are a certain ethnic group and you're a large amount of people and you want to self-determinate. That's it, right?
So I think we're all on the same page. Everyone, if they were,
We should get to the next topic on that note, because we wanted to talk about. Yeah. I hope everyone agrees on that. Yeah, I hope everyone agrees on that because that's where South Africa's headed. I mean, this country's gonna blow up at some stage, or it's going to break slowly. But if it does suddenly fall apart, then every ethnic group in the country will split off into a different state, and it's just gonna happen. It's not like we're radical Nazis arguing for it. It's just gonna happen. Like the Zulus are gonna flock to one group, the Indians are gonna flock to one group. So it's gonna happen, and the best you can do is prepare for it. You
Well,
can't.
There's
Where exactly? Sorry. Oh, the Western Cape. Yep. Yeah, I didn't hear you. Sorry, it's fine. Yep.
can I add? I just, yeah, I want to actually add on that because I also believe in multicultural states. If people want to be multicultural, they should go and do their multicultural, but they should leave ethno-national, religious, whatever you want to. Any sovereignty, it shouldn't be one way or the other. And I think that's where certain, let's call it centrists or centre left or liberals, they get all like in a panic. They hear nationalists speak because they think it's going to destroy their multicultural society, and that shouldn't happen. It should be that if you want a multicultural country, have your own multicultural country, and leave the ethno-national countries alone. And each that's fairness.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but yeah.
Can I ask you all something? Yeah, sure.
Vrijheid. Yeah, I think. Yes.
No, I was saying like a multi. It should be country. I don't see how a country can have both multicultural states. You need to have your own government. So there's no blame game. When something doesn't work, you can't have one state.
Wasn't there a country? I think it's in the Balkans somewhere where they actually have a president bloody
Yugoslavia.
Muslim for the Yeah, they have like
Yugoslavia.
okay, then it's that. That didn't go too well.
Yeah,
That
it
didn't go
ended in
too well at all.
genocide.
Yeah.
Yeah, until
But,
like the
so
head of
what you're
state
saying
or
is right.
something died, and then
You actually
Can
need to
I-
separate the governments, but then you'll have the governments. You might have them fighting for power amongst each other still. So you'd actually need to.
What are you saying?
integrate them.
Country versus country.
Yes.
Tito was really
You're never
based.
going to get rid of that. You can't get rid of it. I mean, guys, we can't look for the silver bullet of humanity. Like one step at a time. I just think that if we have separate countries, we go to this country as a multicultural.
Yeah, my point. You can get rid of it with unions and trades and making the nations economically dependent on each other, but that creates a whole string of issues. If you want to pre-make such something so complex, then I mean, it's very you're moving into dodgy territory there.
I don't know how this is complicated. All I'm saying is, when I speak to people about this, is they immediately go, "What about my mixed race child? What about this? What about that?" And it just comes to, and what about free? Like, how do I go if I want to go to that country? It's just about, let's say, for example, if we make a sovereign state of, let's say, Indians in India. That means that if you're a Muslim Indian, a Hindu Indian country, that means if you're Indian but you're Muslim, you can't go to India and then protest in the streets saying that you want more Muslim politicians. Those are the rules that protect the sovereignty of Hindu India. And the same goes to if you want to go to the multicultural, you can't go there and go, I want
one thing you might have to do, like, just I'm completely adding to you, I'm not contradicting anything. So you might have to divide people by biome. I read somewhere that the one reason Africa is so, like, the guy theorized why Africa is so underdeveloped is because it has such extremely different biomes, and like in Europe, the continent of Europe is stretched out horizontally, and Africa is spread out vertically. So we have way more biomes than Europe does per landmass. So it might be better if you split off people by region, just the regions that are different, instead of just moving them by populace, so you could incentivize people to actually move.
Wouldn't it go according to history?
Although, but that's the thing with like the whole biomes thing. I don't think that's like doable.
What
now,
is biome?
Because
the biome is like a different climate, like a fynbos in this area, and then Ashanti in this area.
Okay.
I have a fucking list here. I can just read
like
it out.
No one wants to be sent to the sovereign state.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like that would have worked.
A lot of people would.
That's the thing, right?
I think there's oil and diamonds and shit. So, but sorry, yeah, Mr. P.
I don't think that's a smart idea, because the reason why Africa wasn't that developed was because of this. They developed their own little ethnic groups along these lines. It's extremely like diverse. I think it's more diverse than that of Europe, ethnically speaking, right? So I think it's all too late to divide it up by like biomes. It's like groups have already like put in place. So I don't think we should like split up groups or kind of horde groups to other like areas just because
I don't think you're saying that. You're saying that you create a country.
Yeah, are you okay with people trekking around to make a state, to make a new state? Then
just clarify what you're saying by these areas. Are you saying that like you create a country, or you create groups according to these biomes?
Are you talking to me or to Mr. P?
Yeah, you.
Me. I'm saying if the country collapses, you might have to incentivize people to move into certain regions instead of just setting up borders straight away, because that could give you problems later down the line.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to have people live their whole life. Let's say the bulk of the African.
Yeah, because then you'll end up with an issue in apartheid where people were moved out of their was a fuck up. Yeah, I know, I see that, but I mean specifically if people could be incentivized to do so, if they would do so out of their free will, and if they would move not far away and maybe just readjust themselves.
But this is why supporting multiculturalization solves that problem. Because if anyone has a problem with a different sector or a different regime, they can stay in the multicultural. There will still be movement. The movement's natural. People immigrate all the time. I just think that if we address it where we support multicultural, and let's say the Cape of Good Hope, as it used to be under the Union or before the Union, sorry. If that was now declared, I think we'd have a hard time advocating for that your entire state. Because I mean, you only need almost just more than the Western Cape to have a country bigger than
Danger Dave, if like let's say something bad happened in the country and you were in a position to rearrange things, okay, like what would you make the entirety of South Africa one single union and then give it different nations within the union? Because you'd have to actually
Never,
direct people
never.
to do this. Like how would you like incentivize people to act this way, to actually form
Well,
their own
right
nations,
now-
to form these multicultural nations, to do all these things?
Yeah, right now we should be engaging in all the leaders of the 11 official tribes
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay.
and start discussing where do you feel that, and you'll find them in pockets. They're not all spread out.
Okay,
Like you would have.
Then what you'd have to do is you'd either have to tell this and advocate for this to the bigger political groups in the country at the moment, like not specifically non-political parties, maybe like something like Afriforum Solidariteit, and that could
And the
work.
Zulu King, like I would.
I'm just looking, that could work actually.
Of course, but that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. We mustn't go there. We mustn't go there going, we're all pro-nationalists. And this is where it has to be. We all just want everyone to say that everyone has a right to be in a multicultural nation or an ethno-state for their own security. And you might find that at least half of the nation vote for sovereignty, just like Brexit. You would find like a total 50-50 split at least. And you would find that maybe, I don't know, 30% of South Africa would remain some sort of multicultural
Yeah. If that gained
can
traction,
I-
the ruling party would probably just shut it down for being treasonous.
Of course,
but
they'll
yes,
shut it down, but I mean,
yeah, I'm just
Can
saying,
I-
Dutch
can I
bro. Yeah, you
ask-
can speak Nederlander.
The question. So y'all agree with self-determination for white South Africans, right?
I thought you were the Dutch dude speaking. Yeah, mostly
the
we all do.
option, yes.
Optionally.
Okay.
Everyone
So-
in the whole world.
Okay, so if that meant the dissolution of South Africa as a country, would you still be okay with it?
Yes.
Hands
Of
down.
course.
So
Everyone's like, I think we at the
wait.
worst. We are
Yeah,
in
this
the
is
This
lead up.
country
and
is
white.
bro. Fuck it. We want to move on.
We were actually discussing on the other.
It's all lead up. It's all lead up.
No, but a lot.
So this-
I reckon half the Africans wanted
Okay. So this
Because-
could be characterized
because they're getting at least half because they're getting invaded by the rest of Africa.
Motherfucker, let me ask the question.
I just wanted to add that.
Fuck it. Man, let me ask the fucking question, man. Fuck you. Now, so this could be accurately characterized as an independence movement, as a white independence movement within South Africa.
Not formally. Yeah.
That's what I just said to this guy.
Yeah, there isn't any formal movement that is pro, for lack of a better word, ethno state, except the Vrijheidsfront said they want it, but they aren't actually doing anything to get it because they aren't in a position to do it at the moment. So I think all the major organizations, if you actually ask them, like, you actually want an ethno, yeah, they'd say yes, but no one's actually doing anything to get it.
But that gentleman who was just asking the question, do you know what xenophobia is in South Africa?
I know what xenophobia is and what South Africa is.
Okay,
But do you
this
know what
summer
it's
is-
actually explained? Yeah, in the last
Can
part.
I explain to him? Yeah. So essentially, there's almost a pandemic of black people killing other black people in South Africa of different nations that are not South Africa. It's a very big issue, and specifically, they kill a lot of Nigerian people. They kill Zimbabwean people. They essentially, even in the economic freedoms fight, I've noticed strangely, since they're actually pro-black nationalists, the harder black South Africans are actually not pro-black Africans. If that makes sense.
So they pro ethno.
They're pro-ethno
Okay,
state, essentially.
So if the final goal is self-determination for all South African minorities, why not form a dissolution front for South Africa?
That's the question.
Which shouldn't only involve just a minority, because the majorities can do all the legwork because they are the majority.
Yes, and there is no group in the country which is doing what Mr. Dave is suggesting, which is just a pure separatist party. I think you could call it that. A secessionist party, which just argues for everyone breaking away. There's no one that's doing that. You have
Yeah.
certain groups that are advocating for that for their own ethnicities, but you don't have one that's advocating it for every ethnicity.
Yeah, and even then, these groups in of themselves are quite small, and like not all ethnic groups have this like large vocal, this like opinion that they want to secede from South Africa. It's just like I don't know if the IFP wants to do it or some meme. The only really big one is like Cape secessionism.
Well, it sounds to me from the outsider's perspective that not pushing towards ethno-nationalism or self-determination for just one group, but pushing a dissolution front, a front for South Africa to stop existing for everyone's benefit, would
As
work for
everyone
y'all in
sees
the
fit.
long run.
Yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea, but I don't know if we'll get that much traction.
Yeah. So one thing you can do is not make it a political party, but an organization, and then lobby with political parties and just generally anyone who has power. You might even get the fucking EFF on your side, but that's unlikely
No, not the.
because they want the entire country, and
They want the
probably want
entire
Zimbabwe.
Africa.
Yeah, they don't want the entire Africa eventually. But in the
Soviets.
short run, it might actually help them because the EFF would get their own country, maybe.
Yeah, that's what we're advocating for. They must.
Because so they might agree with you. Then my point is, instead of a party that will steal their votes, everyone might listen to you.
Yeah, there's 6-7 million voters. Give them their own country that can open the rest of
So on Loving Life's channel, and I know a lot of people don't like him here, but still, he mentioned on his channel, like he brought on this guy who was making his own new party, and everyone in the comments had a fucking fit because like they just said there are too many parties. Everyone is making a party. All you're doing is you're splitting the minority even further. So making a political party is the worst possible choice you could make if you have any political aspirations in South Africa right now.
I don't know, because it depends, right? Because it feels like a DA orient. Say now you're like a DA politician, and you just like left the DA and stuff, and you split. You're just gonna be splitting the vote, right? But if you're like a party with, yeah, if you're like a party with specific views such as secessionism, that is like completely. That's not going to split the vote necessarily. The existence of other parties might like distract from your party, but I don't think it's necessarily splitting the vote.
I think it might distract from the issue though, because if you have a party and you actually get a vote and you have a specific standpoint, the other parties are going to argue against you because you're all. That's essentially what's happening in America. Whenever the conservatives take a point, the liberals take the opposite point. When the liberals take a point, the conservatives take the opposite point.
I think
you can see that
history.
to some extent in South Africa.
Like on the majority of their opinions, they kind of align quite well.
Yeah, but like because for stupid shit like climate change. Like I mean,
that could just be because American conservatives could just be dumb.
I think all Americans are dumb, to be honest.
True, I get your point that like they will like argue against you for the sake of arguing against you because you are that.
Because you're the enemy. Yes.
You're the enemy. But also, I don't see like a movement necessarily. Like just if it's a movement, solely movement, I don't see that working either. Because what could happen is like, okay, yeah, but you're going to be taking an entire region from me that I get most of my power from. And if I'm not the leader of your government, then why would I want to do that?
Okay, the movement wouldn't actually be a leader of anything. It's just you're just lobbying for an idea and trying to get it past everyone.
Yeah, but that's the point. If you're going to lobby it towards like political parties, they're not going to agree with you because like inherently, because one, the ANC is going to be like, okay, well, I mean, the ANC might maybe, but like more like economic, more for like political reasons, but economically they probably wouldn't because you'd like would take an entire portion of the country away. Like other parties within,
I would think
the local parties might agree, like smaller ones, but like larger ones like the DA, I don't see them agreeing because then you're going to be taking like say, okay, the Western Cape for instance, you're going to try and lobby with the Western Cape. So now the party itself, like the big head, like the snake head, that won't agree with you, but you could like kind of leech from them, like other smaller parties have done to the DA. And I can see that happening, but like I don't see the DA like agreeing with it fully unless they Or sold them
agree.
the idea, and they
I
invest
reckon we
into
need
like
to go through
leaving South
One
Africa.
thing to keep in mind though is if you do balkanize, that you actually give the parties a country potentially.
I
That's
wouldn't
something that's
call
on the
it
table.
balkanization, because balkanization is a derogatory term.
Explain-
It refers
explain the
it refers
Secession.
it refers to Yugoslavia, and Yugoslavia ended in genocide. It ended in people
stay away
deciding.
from the term.
Secessionism, then secessionism.
No, but which
Secessionism.
genocide of Yugoslavia?
No, don't even call it secessionism, because that has connotations with the American Civil War.
Okay,
Call
now,
it
what were you?
dissolution.
Dissolution. Okay,
Dissolution.
there we go. We have
Yeah,
a big word.
You dissolve South Africa for the benefit of literally everyone.
I don't think that that's going to be even remotely possible. I don't see like one party like advocating for that will get anywhere.
How do you think South Africa started? How do you think Swaziland exists as a separate state?
Yeah, but that wasn't like that was probably like I don't know like what the like history
All it was
of
was,
Swaziland was.
the United Nations and the British government.
Yeah.
What did they have that we don't have? We're government. There's United
Yeah, but
Nations.
that's the thing. The British like made that a separate part as like I mean, sure, why not? I mean, it doesn't affect us in any way because we own the country like already, so it doesn't really matter.
No, they
Right,
pulled
but
out.
in the
They became
context,
independent.
they became independent. Oh,
But all
okay,
I'm
but
saying
that's
is,
okay.
all I'm
But
saying
that
is
you see,
these countries
Swaziland is not the same. Like Swaziland and Britain aren't the same as South Africa and like everything, right? The Britain
no,
won't
but
like
in international
voluntarily.
law,
Yeah.
international law.
Yeah, but who do you think writes the international law though?
It
sure-
doesn't matter. It's
No,
when
it
you
does.
get
It
lobby-
does matter because, like, I'll give you an example. Like, in
Okay,
the
if you
initial
say that
writing, hello?
lobbying power,
Okay, I'm still, yeah. If you look at like the initial writing of like the human rights or whatever, in the UN, I can't remember what it's called, the UN Charter or whatever. It was extremely biased towards like the powers that be. Why? Because they were the ones writing it. Like France and Britain still had colonies at that point. It was only like later on that they like redrew it, right? So you're still gonna have like big shot countries like Swaziland and like releasing Britain on national international pressure. That's like what? Okay, sure, why not? But like
they
you
didn't release
saying the
under
entire
international
country,
pressure.
what?
It wasn't an international pressure. What actually
you just
happened
said-
was the British
Okay.
withdrew and they handed over the territories of Swaziland and Lesotho to African governments who wanted. So the only lobbying power,
decolonization. Oh, so that
the
that's,
only
that's
lobbying
decolonization,
power
that's
was from the
lobbying.
British people themselves, lobbying against the government, saying
Yeah, I
we
mean,
need to
because
pull out.
colonialization wasn't that effective, but like for them,
Could
the
you
government
say that
didn't
they were
have an.
But these African
government-
nations, they didn't say we want to go be with
the government had like a reason to do this. Whereas the South African government, like
Which
if they,
government?
are we talking about Britain releasing them now to like
No,
other? What do you
There was
mean, who
no
released
government.
them?
There was no Swaziland. Yeah, but
No,
I'm saying
that's the point. That's the point.
the
They
recip-
released.
I'm
They
saying
released them. As in, like they created the country. They gave it to
Yeah.
the natives.
the
You're missing the
natives
point.
exactly. So
Yeah.
the
Okay, but
recipients.
now. Okay. So what benefits do Swaziland? Okay, so what comparisons can you draw between Swaziland and Britain and like South
Israel.
Africa and everything else?
Is
Well,
their right
really-
to their own determination, which was
Okay, yeah,
which
no,
was
but
recognized.
I think
Okay,
you shouldn't.
you're missing one big factor here. That is the benefit of such, right? So the British, they did it because what's the point of keeping these two shitholes, right? South Africa's not going to dissolve because some countries are
South
saying,
Africa.
hello,
Africa,
hello.
all
I'm
the
still speaking,
minerals.
bro. I'm speaking. You're listening. I'm speaking. You're listening. So South Africa dissolving itself entirely, like especially with the ANC government. Let's say that that's a lesser majority now. They're still going to have a large portion and a large say within what's going to happen, and they don't want to relinquish a lot of their political power because what's going to happen is local leaders are going to get into power, and they don't want that. Like people in of themselves will not relinquish power like if it doesn't benefit them. The reason why Britain decolonized and released all these countries is because there was no reason to keep them around anymore. It wasn't as beneficial as it was back in the day. And on top of that, there was international efforts from like America telling them to, hey, release them. So sure, they like could be like some like small secessionist thing to say, hey, can America kind of like tell us to kind of become independent? But to say that like South Africa should just disintegrate before our very eyes because this party that like maybe not every ethnicity even agrees with, that's a little bit more far fetched than the latter.
Well, you should
it's
look
happened.
at the USSR. Because if you look at who rules all the countries of the former USSR, most of them were leaders of the Communist Party branch of their country, like Uzbekistan. So
Yeah, but
what you need to
the
learn-
dissolution the
yeah,
dissolution
Ukraine.
of the USSR was not because of like all of the higher ups agreeing. It was like two guys essentially just sold out the USSR and like dissolved it to seek this capitalist paradise. It was
yes,
more of like they were more like disillusioned with socialism.
So what is your point?
My
it's
point
fair to
being
s-
that you can't draw the comparison between Swaziland and Lesotho to and Britain to South
South
Africa
Africa.
and just disintegrating completely.
Something
South
you
Africa
said.
went
yeah,
through
mm,
multiple
You guys can finish.
independence.
Yeah.
So I mean, how
Who's to
South
say that
Africa?
they will completely dissolve though? Because the state itself existed throughout all of history. It's just the hands of power was changed. It was first the British, then it was the Afrikaners, and then now it's
No, it
the
wasn't.
ANC.
All I'm saying is, what you're trying to say is that right now the South African government has way too much power and influence abroad to let something
No,
like that happen.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they have too much of it. They have no interest in pursuing
Of
this.
course,
or,
they have
like,
no interest.
tantalizing it. There you go. That's the point. Whereas Britain did have an interest. They were like, okay, it's fine, whatever.
To
Whereas
give
South
up a
Africa,
country.
yeah, to give up a country. But also, what South Africa would do, and you're like all hypothetical. And like, by the way, I'm for this idea. I'm just not saying it's a reasonable idea. Is that they completely dissolve the country. Their parliament, their power that they had is completely disintegrated. I didn't see that happening. If America were to go to Britain and say, okay, decolonize and dissolve your entire country, they would have never accepted it.
So the Soviet Union had
Jack for a
total.
second, because I can clear something up. The thing we said earlier is we're not actually going to make you're not going to make an organization that's going to bring all these things to happen. The country is going to collapse naturally, and once you start setting up these systems to guide the collapse in a positive direction, then it will work. Because
Oh,
the
no, that's a
country,
different story. Yeah, that's a
my
different story. Yeah, I agree with that. I
proposal
can
is
As soon as
somewhat
it's
see
not
that.
like
My-
Lancaster House Agreement, I think you're fine.
the proposal I gave of a dissolution front is yes, this is going to happen, but the way things are, if they keep going this way organically, it's gonna end in bloodshed. It's gonna end in some sort of civil war, and no one wants that. The proposal I gave was to try to avoid this and to try to work in the benefit of all peoples.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea though. I think the best, not to call you wrong, but I think the spot on. But the best course of action, in my opinion, is just to say the country is going to collapse, and we can guide you in a positive direction now, that you can be ready for the eventual collapse.
Yeah, that's more reasonable than like expecting this to
Yeah,
actually
well,
have any legal results.
Yeah, legally it's going to be
Definitely
hard because there are many external countries that have interests in the current South Africa, and if we disillusionize it, it's going to fuck up their interests, and so they'll
I think that
automatically
made a
vote
very
against
good
it.
course of action.
Oh yeah,
Also,
China is
let's
going
be
to
honest.
prop
I
up a
mean,
regime.
also
Yep,
let's be
China,
honest.
for
If
example.
there's no war, I don't think people will care a lot about law. So, yeah, I think it's best to get ready. And I mean, let's be honest. Do you live in a lawless country already?
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, exactly. So I don't see why you should put your hopes in law.
Law is
I'm
only
not-
specific to very urban and very more the west side, but in general, South Africa can be described as lawless. So
Can
just
I
to clear
just-
that up.
I'm not talking about legality. I'm talking about the guidance of efforts. If
Yep,
everyone guides their efforts towards a peaceful separation, well, not
Yep,
separation.
yep,
Let's use a
100%.
fancier word.
The only thing I disagreed with you on is the idea that we should try and prevent the collapse, because I think the collapse is the thing that will shock people into reality.
The collapse
It's
is
not
already happening.
about
Yeah,
preventing
it's already
the
happening, it's already happening.
collapse. It's not about preventing the collapse. That's already happening. It's about making sure the
Salvaging.
most people make it out fine. It's about trying to save lives, trying to save what used to be South Africa.
Yes.
I don't think anyone here wants a genocide to happen like in Yugoslavia.
Nope. Yeah,
Can I
100%.
please just add
You're right.
something? We're drifting on topics here. And I just
Yep.
Can I just please add
Yeah.
some? So first of all, I believe in seeking peace but preparing So I'm not saying these political efforts is what we should only focus on. Obviously, prepare yourselves, prepare your families, get to know your neighbor, get to know your communities, do all the prepping you can. I've done my own prepping. Okay. And but I'm just trying to say that this idea that it's possible to seek some sort of sovereignty, we almost resigning to our own civil war. And if we can really accept practical examples like Crimea and Russia, that's
Cheers,
just
Noller.
happened.
Have a nice evening.
If you even if you just look at all the historical events which led to any sort of sovereignty, this has always happened. So even think that South Africa has now some sort of special, the South African government has some sort of special overarching power against its citizens, against for the idea of sovereignty. Is this? It's bizarre to think that there's no ways, especially with lobbying power. The National Party lost its sovereignty to an extent by global pressure. The Union of South Africa was dismantled and formed into the National Party by locals who, especially the National Party that was more anti the British royal family and British monarch party. So just in the last 100 years, South Africa has gone from, if we say 150 years, it went from, let's say 200 years, it went from Dutch power to, let's say 300 years, it went from Dutch power to proxy French power during Napoleon, back to the Dutch, then to the British. Well, the British were fighting the French, and they saw that South Africa was one of their strategic routes they were going to block. So they had to go to war anyway. But what I'm trying to say is the sovereignty of South Africa has been shifting the last 150 decades, and it's involved massive powerful interest. Then you have the Soviet Union, who lobbied and trained and infiltrated through the ANC and the SAC, and they achieved it. To say that Britain pulled out because they had no interest is totally. Why would the Soviet Union have so much? This is Africa we're talking about.
No, wait,
it's a trade.
you're saying that the Soviet Union caused the British Union to
No,
release South
the
Africa?
NP, the National Party.
Oh, the National
the
Party. No, that was the reason
so-
they existed. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, right? And to a
I'm
certain
saying the
extent-
Republic of South Africa.
Uh-huh.
Once, even from when the Union was started, the ANC existed before the Republic, before apartheid. The ANC won because
Yeah.
there were certain sects of Afrikaner that wanted no Africans. They wanted total ethno-national, and some of the Afrikaners wanted to use black labor, and there was a divide in the Afrikaans.
Yep.
And that was already when the ANC was fighting for quote unquote.
Yeah, the liberals
equality.
one, yeah.
That was a fuck up that started in the First World War, to be honest. As it goes back way in the National Party, but yes, continue.
But all I'm saying is the Soviet Union, via their lobby and one official party, we should learn from the enemy, which is the SACP, the South African Communist Party, was almost a direct Soviet proxy. The ANC were all sister parties, including the ZANU-PF of Zimbabwe. And now today we see a super hyper proxy being the EFF, which is like almost openly Soviet. And these people did it to just fund it and mixing with the locals under the banner of so-called liberalization. And the moment they got their so-called liberty, they've been dumpstered. And now the same people, half of the country, we're talking about no power base, but half of the African, at least half of the African. Why do you think most of them still vote ANC? Because they highly distrust the EFF Soviet rhetoric. The ANC is just a pacifist.
Okay, I get your point. Now you're just speaking metric at this point. But when it comes to all this, my whole thing is that the British they decolonized because of American pressure, and we didn't fold due to only in domestic issues. As soon as the Soviet Union fell, we shortly followed suit. We also gave our hand to the ANC. because we had no reason to exist in American size, right? But my whole thing is, right, that to assume that first off that the South African government itself, the state itself, will just completely dissolve based on like any like domestic reasons, like minimal support, right? Because remember, you're assuming that this like big front will actually gain any like prominence, or like any like prominence, right? That you're assuming that like most ethnic groups will actually want to succeed, or to secede rather, except for like maybe like Cape Town or fucking the Zulus or whatever, like besides like two like or like three like small ethnic groups or whatever, right? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like reasonable that this could actually gain any
I
prominence.
agree. It's not a short-term thing, though. The especially no one's actually tried
Of course not.
to say to Durban people, yeah, you're Durban, you should try and break away. And maybe if someone actually tried to target each individual group and actually got a momentum behind them, then we could have a different discussion. Especially if we're talking long-term, not short-term.
Another advantage of the movement proposed is that today the face internationally of South African self-determination is tarnished by the AWB. Everyone thinks, oh yeah, white South Africans want to be free. They're Nazis. They're just Nazis. That's what people think in America. That's what people think in Britain. That's what people think in Australia. If you get a movement, what? Yes. Yes.
International opinion matters, though.
I agree.
International opinion matters, though.
If you get a movement that the face doesn't necessarily have to be white Nazis, but actually like some others, South Africa, you can get some actual international support that's gonna greatly help you against those that want to artificially keep South Africa united, like China.
Yep. The average overseas person actually knows that South Africa is a fuck up. So it's not like the average overseas person is pro ANC or something stupid like that. So it's like the South Africa was in the news a lot for the 20 years ago. So I think the average person, especially in the UK, is very aware of South Africa and how the bad road it has gone.
They were maybe aware of it 20 years ago, but it's not part of their national discourse.
I see BBC does report quite a bit, so I think if you bring it up, people would remember.
I mean, people in the UK are lean on that.
Lean on that?
You shouldn't lean on... You shouldn't lean on, oh yeah, they are aware that South Africa is fucked up. Because people are not as aware. This is a post-Trump world. People now think white, they think Nazi.
Yes.
You needed to rebrand a little bit.
Well, I could say that I reckon half the world nationalists.
Your voice lagged. Sorry, Mr. Dave.
Most people on the street, they don't think Nazi or white. They could care fucking less. Like, it's a fucking joke. Like, you might see that on the telly, but you wouldn't see the average person on the street calling anybody else a fucking Nazi. Like, it's fucking students.
Well, it's not the average person.
Then it doesn't fucking matter, does it? It's just the fucking loonies at the top. It doesn't matter at all.
It's like most surprisingly Westerners aren't that dumb,
Yeah, they aren't. They're just normal people. They couldn't give it a fucking shite about South Africa. Like, if you were in America right now on the ranch, you wouldn't give a fucking dog's bollocks.
Probably more ignorant that they are dumb. So
I just have to say, McLiam, your accent makes it so much better. Thank you.
You
Yes.
guys are leaving out a very important thing that's just happened in the last couple of months, and that's called Black Lives Matters.
Yes, that's a good point.
That's awoken.
Black Lives Matter is an issue. It's
Can
an
I-
issue for us.
Let me just finish what I'm going to say about BLM. And I was saying that to Munir, is that they've made a big mistake with this movement, the radical leftists, because a lot of what's come out of the BLM movement is cries for, like, maybe we should have an ethno state for blacks living in the West.
Yes.
And this is exactly what we want. So there's actually a militia that formed, you know, that what's that sculpture on the mountain?
Mount Rushmore.
Yes. They all protest in the street. This full kitted militia. I'll
Did
drop
one of
the
them
video in
boys
the
shoot
link.
themselves?
Yeah, but
No, these
you-
guys were
the point he's
fully
making.
funded and killed.
Yeah,
And the
he's
thing
making a
is,
good point. Yeah.
No.
the leader was, as soon as he was on camera, he was like, "We demand our own sovereign state." Look, he demanded Texas, which is a bit stupid. But
Texas is Mexican. Texas is ours.
listen to
It
this.
doesn't belong to no Dongoloid. It belongs to the Mexicans.
Look, let me. So I reposted this video on a debate group in America, which is like 25,000 people, and I said, "This is maybe we should listen to these people and ask the question about a sovereign state." You know how many people like give them LA and we've got a deal? They weren't even like Americans are like, actually, let's fucking talk about it. So, you know, I think we had the world's at this point. Now they're having to face the same multicultural dilemma
Yep.
as South Africa.
What you're saying is tying in with Nokia said with the whole AWB problem. As soon as you make it about everyone, you have a completely different discourse than you had with Afrikaner self-determination. It's South African self-determination, not Afrikaner self-determination.
Yes, that's well put.
But yeah, I learned something today. Thank you guys. The way you put it, it's structured, and everyone throws their own ideas, but as soon as it gets structured, then lines start fun. Like as Mr. P said, it's much harder to put these things to reality beyond fucking Discord speeches, but it's still interesting, still very interesting to discuss, especially if you're actually in a position to do something.
Now you have
especially.
a bit better of an idea than you had before, I think.
Yep.
You know, now there's
If
a
you mean by
strategy.
you, the AWB, and yes, because this is the
We have an
AWB.
identity crisis.
Because just to apologize for them a little bit, is that they thought the ANC was going to start shooting people as soon as they got in power, and when that didn't happen, they were sitting there with their pants down, and everyone told them, "You told us there was going to be a revolution, the country's going to fall apart in a day," and then it didn't happen. The whole party cocked. So that's specifically why the AWB, because from their position they thought the country was going to die immediately, which was a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake, which cost them, many of them cost them their lives even.
Yeah. They did have cool uniforms, though.
There was a black guy with AWB uniform. Oh yeah, but the AWB and the Zulus actually had a match. So the AWB and the Nkandla Freedom Party, which is today the fourth biggest party in South Africa, were actually basically in the same, you could say the same, not union, confederacy, like they were teammates. The AWB would actually teach the Nkandla Freedom Party how to bomb places, how to make poison, how to poison water supplies, all kinds of shit like that. So they worked together, and that's why some Zulus actually really like white people. It actually that and the AWB goes back all the way to the Boer Wars, in which we defeated a certain Zulu king, then gone and put Mpande in power. And since then, the Boers actually worked as mercenaries for Zulu kings. So there's a very, very old and very I could say strong tie between Boers and Zulus, which people tend to forget about because the powers that be don't want you to remember them, especially. But some of the older, more conservative Zulus still remember that, and that's something that could be advantageous in the future. Yeah, the AWB, you could say they were racist, but they weren't supremacists, if that makes sense.
Can I?
They were separatists.
They were terrorists, yes, I said supremacists. Yes, nationalism. You can convince a liberal of nationalism. You just have to convince them from a liberal perspective. Like I don't think a single white liberal under the sun would disagree that Wakanda should exist. Put it that way.
I'm definitely pro Wakanda.
Yeah, Wakanda would be very good for white people.
Wakanda forever.
Now, Nigeria has a space program, doesn't it? So maybe it should be in space. Imagine space Wakandans like on the moon. That'd be lethal, like.
Are
Well,
we
I
just
hope
gonna
so.
send the Dungaloids to the moon?
I
I
think
don't want to laugh at that.
I think the best chance for a African state is not Nigeria. Nigeria is a fuck up. You
Yeah,
should
no,
look
that's why they're
towards
going to space.
Botswana, maybe Rwanda. Cheers, Celestial. Have a good night. Rwanda, Burundi is a fuck up. Also, yeah, Mozambique is going a similar route to Zimbabwe now. It's going absolutely down the drain. So that's the thing. Could be an option. Oh, they actually used to live in Mozambique. That's interesting. I should talk to you about that sometime. Because Mozambique interests me. Because Mozambique's like the second Rhodesia. It was like a very close ally state of the old South Africa, and it's a bit of a gray spot in history for me because I don't really see people talking about it. Don't ever see videos about it, and shit really flied down there. Mozambique was wild, Bruce. You've been there? Okay. Yep.
Look,
There
I
are
still
types of
believe that.
types of martial arts in Pakistan, right, where it's designed to like it uses a lot of kicks and it's designed to like keep the lower classes away from the upper classes. It's absolutely lethal. Like I'd learn that. Like keep the fucking smelly poos away from you. Like
See, look, I don't
Funny enough,
buy
isn't that
into-
India? But yes,
I think it's Pakistan that has that
because
martial
Pakistan's
arts.
a Muslim country. But yeah, whatever. Sorry.
There's
Yeah,
still classes in Pakistan.
really.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. I assumed they would be more egalitarian than
No,
India.
there's a lot of different ethnicities in Pakistan.
I don't know shit about Pakistan.
See, this is why this shouldn't have been streamed to YouTube. But anyway,
it's.
Pose. Am I gonna get banned for saying pose? Like,
I think it's on a private thing for now. But what? Yeah.
you should actually start a D-Live channel. But what I was going to say is, like, I'm not really into the whole social cultural Darwinism. Like, I know that there's definitely differences, and I don't believe that some groups are just incapable of achieving great things. And especially nowadays, I think a lot of the oppression, or the, let's call it, lack of development from the bulk of Africa is also partially due to leftist, Marxist ideology being pumped to them through both whites and blacks, giving them this, victimhood status that the only reason why their life is bad is because of white people, and that's paralyzing to them. And a lot of conservative nationalist Africans, they saying that. And you can see like a lot of rappers, they're dissenting. A lot of movie stars, they're challenging the narrative. Terry Crews, I don't know if you know him, but he's that black actor. He was even on.
Yeah, he's
You you must
great.
go watch that. How he takes on CNN.
It's
But all I'm
interesting.
saying-
You're a culture relativist, aren't you?
But all I'm saying is that, like, I don't want to be pro, like, I'm a part of this culture and I'm not going to make. I don't want to embrace. But I'm not saying that you got the right to be supremacist. It's not a healthy thing for the whole.
You're a cultural relativist, and the only way you can make that work is with your other worldview that you should allow people to self-determinate. Then it works.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
It's the
then you
only
don't
way
have
you can justify that. So yes, it works out. But the average person hasn't really. I almost want to say hasn't exactly thought of that yet.
No, you're right.
But that's why they keep they don't. Yeah. So
they
you're
keep
right.
away the ethno-nationalist
You're
conversation.
right, but if you can convince someone that you should allow people to make their own states, then yes, then cultural relativism isn't very hard to convince someone of, because that's the next step.
Let's actually re-emphasize that. So what the core of what so-called ethno-nationalism is about is a massive fundamental ball and chain, a debunk of the ball and chain on the African community. Like, if we could encourage them to have ethno-states where we don't denounce them and they should be truly for their people,
yes,
they won't have any reason. They won't have the excuse of the white man anymore. And then they will thrive. They'll blossom.
Yes. Not necessarily, but still, it wouldn't be our problem in that case.
Yes, both ways. But if it is such a crutch, which I think it is, you can see it in. They become so poetic, and almost it's like their faith. It's become a religion to them.
It would be more to the advantage of the average African to be in his tribe than to be in a multicultural setup like in South Africa. That I can agree with. But I don't think that every tribe would make it. So some would almost have to be, quote unquote, sacrificed in the process. And someone might actually lift this up. Like, everyone is self-determinating, but the Xhosas can't do it. So now you're leaving them behind, and you're efficiently...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. And you're effectively giving them a bad chance in comparison to the rest. Yeah, that's something you're a more liberal person might say, though. Yeah,
I'm liberal in many senses, dude. I'm not
if you argue for everyone breaking off, everyone actually does break off, you might have an issue with the group of people who do not want to break off. Yes. But then it's just majority opinion versus a minority, and everyone is going to be set in their ways.
No, but remember, like I said, we'll create multicultural zones. Countries.
Well,
if they want to be,
that would be like getting promised a pizza and getting a single slice. But yes,
what is the argument again? Sorry, I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. Are you saying that? Are you still going back to the thing that most people won't vote for a sovereign state?
I think if a certain group, specifically a specific ethnic group, because then it would be easier to scapegoat. If a specific ethnic group was against the solution completely, you might have an issue. Not with pockets of people.
Yeah.
I don't know every black group so well that I can't say I know for a fact that every group in South Africa would be pro-secession, to be honest.
Well, of some sort, I think a lot of them. I think the majority.
You,
So,
if go ahead.
Yes, landlocked areas, landlocked.
Yeah, but those
Yeah,
there's pros and cons.
Well,
what you're saying is there's an economic aspect to consider besides the already fucking complicated ethnic and religious aspects to consider. So
But-
yes, that is a very good point.
I'm gonna raise you the point that if you were to scour the earth, with perhaps the exception of Latin America, you're gonna have a hard time finding a country where everyone wants to stay united. Everyone always wants to separate.
The Irish
Everyone
might
always
disagree.
No, that's why you have
Because the Irish,
He's right.
the Irish were artificially separated by the British, but in every other country, there's always going to be one region that does way better than the others.
I think
That doesn't want to deal with the
I agree with
others.
you completely, but I think what makes South Africa different is we have 11 different cultures and like 12 different provinces, so that we are
Yes.
like that even more intense.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
likelihood of that is even more insane.
Yeah, because if people from foreign countries will understand where we're coming from, if that's what you mean, because that's a very good point.
although I don't
Another thing,
know if like the majority of these people actually like within other countries that is want to secede like necessarily like I mean if you look in America I don't know if the Southerners still like there's still like a sizable portion of the population that want to actually
It's
secede.
starting to come back now. It's starting to
it?
come back.
It-
Apparently,
it's starting to come back.
Apparently,
Wait.
It's
Apparently,
It's
yeah,
starting
okay.
to come back in two flavors: neo-Confederates and black nationalists. Ones
Yes.
I
want to
don't
just
think-
secede from America, and the others want to make a black state.
yeah.
I
The
don't think that
Black
there's, like, a
Americans are talking about
most-
this a lot, and this is actually making people's head turns. I think I've seen a mainstream source talk about, oh no, what could happen if America could collapse into different states? But yes, continue.
I think that the the majority of black people aren't. I think that there's probably this group of like secessionists in every country. I would agree with that, but like a sizable portion is what I'm kind of stick with. My contention comes in is that I don't think there's a sizable enough amount of black people or people, well, yeah, black people that want to actually succeed. Most of them just want to stay in America. They don't have secessionist thoughts.
Back in ye olden days, back before the Industrial Revolution, I mean, borders were very fluid, of states just jumping, going up and down, up and down, up and down. So I'd almost say it's natural for countries to want to secede and reform and secede and reform.
Yeah,
secede, and reform.
it's natural in that sense, but it's I don't see it like happening in like a larger scale.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I don't
because
see every
things have changed. Things have changed.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I suggested this earlier to Danger Dave. He seemed to disagree.
But explain it more in detail. I don't know. What's the limitation of the overarching government? Are you
Is there
saying it's
an
part of the same
overarching
country?
government?
What's
or
the
is it a
difference
co-
between this and a separate country?
Like the European Union? I think that's what the difference is. It's not like a country of states in it. It's like a union of countries. If that's what you mean. If that's
like
what you mean.
America, but like a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's. But they're still separate countries in the EU.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. What is this federation?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Could you tell us that, Jable?
Look, just yes or no, are these groups represented by the same government in the same country? Yeah, but you could still have an executive order. You need a true country that's represented by its own independent government, in my opinion. I don't think you can have different groups
I agree.
represented by the same government.
I agree with you there. You need, like, because I'm an authoritarian, so I honestly
Right.
believe you need a strong government for your group to just fucking
Right,
survive.
right.
To be honest.
Yeah,
Look,
kind
my
of taking
my
the
structure
North
of
Korea
government
approach.
is mostly yours. That's my own theory. But sorry, just I believe in the one, whether that government is a strong man or a group, which I don't believe in either. I think a single president leadership is highly susceptible to assassinations, death, and overthrow. And
Yes.
even larger groups, you centralizing too much of the power. We need to
There
need
is
to
there is many
power.
problems and many advantages. Yes, but that's a different discussion. But yes.
That's a totally different discussion. But I just think going back to the original idea, like I don't know if the federation, there's an exact definition of federation that I read on Wikipedia actually today. I just can't recall it now, but there's so many ways of governance. But if you can take the Union of South Africa, for example, that was actually ruled by the royal family, but it was governed by the Afrikaans, well, the Dutch. But it was it was Louis Botha and
Louis Botha was a very
Hendrik Botha.
controversial dude in the Afrikaans community.
What I'm trying to say is that one was a general, the other one was an Afrikaner, and they govern the actual country. So by definition, the Union, that era was dual governance between the sovereign Afrikaner and the royal family.
No. The Louis Botha was seen as a massive traitor by all of the Boers almost, and many people believe he actually killed himself out of grief because of this. He wasn't really a representative of the Afrikaans people.
But he was a general during the trekkers and even
Yes,
before
he did that, and then he went to the British side, which many people saw as a betrayal.
Yeah, but when you say what was a betrayal?
No, I don't say it was a betrayal. I'm just saying the people saw it as a betrayal, and like he was very unpopular during the time, and he wasn't a authoritative strongman for the Afrikaans people. He wasn't a good representative.
But how was he supposed to be a representative when he was a prime minister? That means he didn't have total sovereignty. He didn't have total rulership over the Afrikaner people. He still had to govern under the royal. It was a joint leadership. The republic was only in 61, which was after Louis Botha. So how can he, by definition, be a traitor unless you're suggesting that he was supposed to
build a time machine, go back for 100 years in time, and ask the Afrikaners of that time that question, because I'm not going to have that debate. I'm just telling you what they believe.
Amazing, truly amazing.
But I'm just saying, there's a form of dual governance, but the Afrikaans still made their rules, and after 61, when it became a republic and the British officially pulled out, then that was ruled by the NP at the time, wasn't it? No, the South African Union Party. There was something before the NP, but all I'm saying is there's so many forms of government, and it's so complicated to get into, and we should just accept that what we're talking about is independent governance, reporting to no other, overarching government at all. There has to be total sovereignty for separate sovereign nations. It won't work if you're under the same, but you treat it as like two different sister nations, or because when everything goes wrong, who do you blame? Especially at the top, there will be a central thing. Or you have to have a separate economy as well. You can't have the same government, because those are the core of where everyone gets all bitter with each other when shit's not working. And when you've got groups to blame, that's the problem that's happening in the world, where we're not tackling any real fucking science. We just scapegoating, and everyone's getting scapegoating, and everyone's like trying to plead their story. It's bullshit.
Yep.
It's like,
No one
it's-
here believes multiculturalism works. No one here. So I believe everyone agrees. Just forcing people together
Well,
in one big cesspot is a recipe for complete disaster.
I do believe in integralism, but that's a completely different debate.
You absolute legend.
Yes, I
do
do
think
believe in
multicultural
integralism because I'm
states-
Catholic.
Brazilian
Like-
integralism.
Multicultural states can function, but it's not a nice existence. You know, it's not something anybody wants to be a part of.
Hey! Who cares about nice? Let's care about if it works.
I do. Like, I don't want to be.
Usually
Want
people
plumbing.
tailor their, like,
Usually-
usually
Okay.
people tailor the societies and the civilizations and structures within them to their like liking. So if people don't like it, obviously they're not going to want it.
Yes.
And that's just gay.
Bro,
Oh,
I
shit.
mean, a slave system could work where we're all fucking ends to the queen, but I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna want that despite it working.
The
Yeah.
problem with
Knock your lord.
the problem that presents itself, I think, from the outside perspective of South Africa, is that there is absolutely nothing unifying the nation. Like no
The
language,
current South
no
Africa?
religion,
Yes.
no culture, nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, like a multicultural
Nice, bro.
country. Yeah, thank you. I don't know, like you need like some kind of unifying factor to kind of, like it's
What
almost
about
like you don't.
humanity? And
No,
just
like-
basic goals of like.
No, but that's still not going to work because people still like war them more.
There was
one-
a unifying. There was a
Yeah, they
unifying
don't want
factor.
that.
Do you have
The
have
reason
any
South
country as
Africa
basic-
worked for a few years is because that was we are forming a new country. We are the new rainbow nation. There was a whole liberal dream that sort of fell flat, and I think
Yeah.
2010 gave it more life. In 2010 of the whole World Cup, there was a lot that gave it life in that. And there was
Exactly.
a big civic nationalist movement, you can almost say, of the World Cup going on. It's distant memory for me. I'm only 21, but I recall like South Africa sort of had a theme, you could say, and that gave people a sense of nationhood.
Can I stop here and ask you? Can you name 3 highly thriving ethno-national states or countries?
Poland, maybe. I don't know. If you maybe can count it.
China,
Current ones.
for one.
China, definitely.
China
I-
is in
you-
multi.
You look at
Japan.
China as a example of
Yes.
prosperity.
Extremely
I don't
diverse.
look at it as an
Prosperity in
example
terms of
of being
economics.
nice.
In terms of
I
economics.
look at it as an
definitely.
example of thriving.
Of
South
thriving,
Korea,
wait,
because
what's
they are
the
thriving.
question? Wait, what's the question? Thriving like ethno state? Because if so, China is a terrible
So
example.
are you
It's not
happy
an
to be
ethno state at all.
an ethno-state, but everyone's like a bunch of slaves?
I don't know if South Korea would qualify as an
China
ethno-state.
is like it's not an exclusive ethno state in the sense of
No, all I'm
being
trying to
exclusive.
point out here, I'm
There
not trying
aren't
to-
any exclusive ethno
It's
states.
not
You have countries that are very
exclusive in
rich.
Can I just add something to the question? I'm not doing this to undermine ethno-nationalism, but the idea that multiculturalism can't exist is it's
Got no
too
spamming,
simplified of a
Yeah, you have to have more nuance. You can't just say multiculturalism is bad because it doesn't work because it's just dumb. That's like akin to saying like
there's
yeah,
so
I
many
don't know.
influences.
Can't even give an
of what-
example now because America as a multicultural country is working in multiple other
It
countries. as
was working, but
multicultural.
America's been
No, it's still
shitting the past
all
few
in-
decades.
Yeah, but all intents and purposes, it has worked.
You can't blame
It's
it on
still unstable now.
multiculturalism. You can't also
I would be inclined to because there's been a trajectory with multiculturalism increasing and
that is-
America going down the drain.
then you obviously haven't ever heard of a banking system.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the many factors. I mean, like in Europe,
That is
all
correct.
over the place. I mean, Europe has gone. I believe Europe is a way shittier place to live than it was 20 years ago after the refugee crisis. I don't think
Yeah.
it's too controversial thing to say.
Can we at least?
Yeah,
can,
it-
can we? Can I?
In
Can we
terms
at
of
least?
stability, it doesn't work. I mean, like, it does work.
Like,
It's just that it's not.
It's very logical.
sustainable
I mean, if you
because-
take people that believe in radically different things that are different racially, that conceive the world differently, they are going to start forming tribal groups. And then if you have tribal
need
groups,
some-
your nations will work together.
Exactly, you need some
mix
unifying
democracy in with that.
factor.
Like,
Listen,
it's not good.
can I just
Especially
add
that.
to the? Can I just add something? the one thing that has totally conquered the entire planet is the banking system. So
I'd say
you
liberalism
can't-
and capitalism, but that's me.
Democracy.
none of them totally encompass the entire.
Capitalism as today cannot work without the banking system, though. So it ties into that.
What? I don't know. I understood half of that. I heard banker capitalism.
That's
So
not
that's with the
easy to
small
understand.
caps.
Yeah, the capitalist system relies a lot on banking.
Yeah,
It
of
Both
has
course.
systems,
historically.
even the communist system.
Communist
Hmm.
banking?
What
It's
is
a
what?
central
would
bank.
how
It's
would
in-
co-
it's even-
How would that work?
What do you mean? It's a state-controlled bank. It was even in the Communist Manifesto. It's like the fifth plank saying that the
No, but
government will have
the
total.
Communist
Yeah, but in
Manifesto?
terms of but in terms of like the banking system that you're referring to, like just now, which is a bunch of independent banking systems, right?
All of it. All of it.
Banks.
In
Or
its
just banks
totality.
in general. Like, okay.
It's a creation of wealth for doing nothing except money. I mean, what does money? You can't eat money. Money's not building you.
Of course,
And
no.
yet the wealthiest
Money is
people in the
a
world-
unit of value that it's a currency, right? It's a unit
Yeah, but
that
the
we
wealth-
use to
I'm saying-
trade and stuff.
I understand.
Bartering is extremely inefficient, so of course we use money.
We all understand what money is. I'm talking about
Mhm.
the concept and the result of international banking. It's made the wealthiest people in the world bankers. There was a point by the
No.
1800s.
No,
Listen,
CEOs are like I
Hold on
want
a
to say
second.
CEOs are
Let's
far
try
more
to-
richer than like I don't know, like on the top like 10 of rich people, you
you
don't
can't
see a
even.
lot of bankers, you see more like CEOs and stuff. So you can say
about
that like banking is necessarily like intertwined with like capitalism, but I think banking is intertwined with like any system that uses currency and like one I don't know, but I think it works more for like capitalism because it's a large sum of it being used by
The
very
issue
few
of
people.
the issue of banking is you're conditioning people to give their money. Because when you're putting your money in a bank, you're just investing in it. You can invest in any business like it. How you make people that own a bank rich is they
Alright,
take
sorry
all
about
of
that.
your capital and then they have it. And then
No, but, okay, so I don't think you guys got the main point.
Yeah, but I don't,
The whole world-
that's not
the
what
whole
makes
world
them
is in
rich.
debt. No, but the whole world is in debt. It's over indebted. The total world's debt to GDP is like 4 years. So it's 4 times the current gross domestic product of the whole world. That's how indebted the whole world is to a handful of bankers and financial. You call it individual wealth. It's not. They can hide their wealth.
Are we talking about the Jews?
Are we talking? No, not yet. I mean,
believe
basically,
and it's the sense in the Jewish.
I mean, okay, so most of actually,
every
it's funny
banker
enough.
is
Most
pretty
if we're talking about like America specifically, most debt is of American debt is owned by China. Or they're the largest. I can't remember if they own it or if they're the largest investors in like
Yes,
American
the
debt.
yellow Jew.
No, they're not the
Um,
largest owner. they have-
I'll have to check, but they are like one of the large. They're up there. They're trying to either one they have a lot of it, and
China
most of it,
is-
or they are the largest accumulators of American debt. Either or, it just shows that it's not necessarily the bankers; it's just the ones who own
No,
the
hold on
debt.
a second.
Owning
You
debt
said
is not
China-
like contingent to bankers necessarily.
Yeah, but you said China. China is also in 300% debt to GDP. Who do you think that money's owed to? The people who propped up the Soviet Union.
Jews.
The Rothschild Bank. All these Rothschild, even put it this way, even De Beers in South Africa. That was either a Jewish, the one Anglo-American, and then
I
Hold
actually know the Beers.
Cool it with the
Beers,
anti-Semitism,
their
please.
daughter
No,
is a friend of
no,
mine.
you need to understand that.
Cool of the
Or-
anti-Semitic remarks, bro.
I'll go ask her if she's a Jew trying to take over the world. Hey, she does actually look like a Jew thinking about it.
No,
What
but
the fuck?
I'm saying
Holy shit, I just realized something.
the banking system has been contributive to World War One, to the expansion of China. A lot of these wars were
What,
riding on
how?
the back of the
Wait,
bankers.
how?
Yes.
No,
I think
no,
I feel-
no.
Okay, look,
Wait. Are we talking about? Okay, when we talking about China, what are you talking about? Who's in the writing of the like? Who's
the
supporting these
Soviet
bankers?
Union,
No.
are the same bankers.
You're so dumb. No,
Finance Mao. Hold on a
you're
second.
lying. Why are you lying to me?
I mean, I'm lying.
You are
Okay,
lying.
let me finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish.
Okay, so the Soviet Union funded Mao and the Communist Chinese Party to overthrow the empire, the emperor of China, right? And
Based.
what what happened? They had their own. Hold on a second. They had their own 50 million Chinese genocide, just like the Holodomor of Russia.
Hold them on.
Hold on
Okay.
a second.
Hey, I'm
Then
letting you finish.
they proceeded very soon afterwards to start the great experiment of increasing the population by 700 million Chinese. So from 1960, they almost doubled their population in 60 years. And the reason why they did that was to create a natural acceptance, organic slavery, where the people look around at each other and go, "There's too many mouths to feed, so we have to work for fucking $1 a month." So
Yeah,
they
the
artificially
Chinese people
created.
are bug people.
Sorry.
I
Sorry.
agree. No, the Chinese are bugs. Yeah, I agree.
No, hold on a second. But they created the Soviet Union created a population bubble that they knew they could use to undermine the Western working force. That was a covert tactic by the Soviet Union. So to say that China,
I think you're giving the Soviet Union far too much credit. They wish they were that fucking powerful.
way too much
but what
credit.
I'm
Like,
trying to
holy
say is
shit,
the
and
same-
even then,
If
even
they
then,
were
right?
that powerful, they would
Even
still
then,
be around today.
here's the thing. Even then, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though,
they're
right?
just a
Okay,
political
finish.
proxy.
Everyone, quiet. Yeah.
They're
Go,
just a political proxy to the bankers. The bankers who funded the Soviet Union was the same bankers who funded the Nazis. Was the same bankers who funded the fucking Allies. Everyone goes to war, and the bankers just won. I'm trying to say, you saying that the Soviet Union. I'm not talking about them. They were just another political proxy. Just
Wait,
like
but you just said they were funded by them.
They funded by the same people. So
Yeah,
China,
okay.
exactly. The bankers profit by war.
Okay, so
And
I want to get this straight.
Humanity can do whatever it wants. And the bankers
Okay, that's cool. That's so cool. It's so cool, bro. But I want to get this straight. So, the bankers, okay, the fucking echo bankers, bankrolled the Soviet Union, which killed like fucking thousands of fucking like nobles and like landlords and all that shit.
Thousands, millions.
Base. That's even better. And also they also bankrolled the Chinese, which also did the exact same thing, killing millions or thousands of like landlords and whatever, pee poo poo. And you're saying that these elites, bankrolled these people that wanted to kill them?
Well, I
With
think
what? Okay,
Whether
mind
it was
you, with what
killing them
evidence?
or not, what I just said is humanity can do whatever they want,
no,
and the
listen,
bankers
Danger
will always.
Dave.
I'm gonna need some evidence that the bankers,
Danger
quote
Dave,
unquote,
you're making a
like
mistake.
funded fucking the Soviets and the red.
Why don't you
No,
just
like-
research?
You're
social-
making a mistake.
No! Don't do that to me! Don't do that to me! This would be
I'm
like
not
me
doing
going
it to you. I'm doing it to
hey,
Dave.
shut up! Hey, Nokia, be quiet. So this would be like me going to my teacher saying, "Fucking, hey, don't ask me to do my homework. You do my homework for me." That's what you just did to
Am
me
I
right
your
now.
teacher?
No, I'm not doing your
pay,
homework. No. I'm not doing your homework. You're doing your homework, okay,
But
buddy?
you don't pay school fees at
Okay,
PayPal.
guys, just hold on for a second. If someone wants a source, then just provide the source. You have to back up what you're saying.
How about that? I'll do that.
Thank
I'll
you.
send you a bunch.
Okay,
And you,
Danger Dave.
is that cool?
You're making a mistake of considering the Soviet Union the same as it was when it began to when it ended. The
Oh, yeah,
Soviet
and also-
Union was.
I would say that it was one.
Wait,
The
let
Soviet
me
Union was
finish.
based when it began, and
It
it
was
was cringe
very
when it ended.
different. It was very different when it started, and when it was bankrolled by Germans, and when it was bankrolled by the Jews to fight in World War II. Then it was after the Stalinist purges. Then it was after the thawing with the death of Stalin. Those are three very different Soviet Unions.
I don't even think that the Germans even bankrolled the Reds. They just sent Lenin to Russia to just destabilize it. They didn't
They
bankroll them
bankrolled
necessarily. Sure, like a train ride. They bankrolled them in a train ride, sure. And also with the whole
So
Jewish
wait, are you
bankrolling
saying
them, I've
that
heard this
Germany
before,
sent
and I haven't seen
Lenin-
this. Like
Lenin.
when the Reds fucking uprose in like Russia, all of the nobles and the rich people in Europe and like across the Western world were shitting bricks. They were like, "Holy shit, communism is finally doing something!" Like these people, holy fuck, they were pissing their pants. Why would you bankroll somebody who's like extreme, like against your entire existence? As a whole,
Yes, that is a good question. Because
makes no
the
sense.
communists have always been
Because you lead the
fundamentally,
opposition.
but
You lead the opposition before it falls.
isn't it different in the case of where the
That's the ultimate way
opposition
to
is?
treat
isn't it different in the case where the opposition is literally you're literally creating a group that wants to exterminate you, and you're hoping it just works out correctly because you're doing the right procedures? That's when you could do something entirely
No,
different if you're in the position to do so.
It's any military professional or general would understand that you don't wait for something to rise. You preemptively do something.
You
And
hand
the
them
bankers-
millions of dollars.
And the
then
bankers
guns.
go and own the opposition. So their uprisings, which should naturally be against them, they lead them. And the populace
they
think
don't.
that's a definition of what a controlled opposition is.
I'm
Yeah,
just
well, it's not
you
controlled
guys-
opposition. That's
It's just controlled opposition.
No, it
Okay, so
isn't.
you're telling me.
you
so
still need to
oh,
provide evidence for that, by the way.
Okay,
I'm
well, let me-
gonna-
Are
I'm
you
gonna-
implying that
Relax,
the Soviets
relax,
Can I ask you a
relax.
let me ask you a logical question. So who was the beneficiary of the Russian uprising against their own monarch?
the Jews?
That's a good one. That's a good one. No, I would
So,
say,
were you willing
like
to
long
accept
term.
No,
No,
now you
I'm not willing to accept anything. I haven't even answered the question.
Okay, so
You
it
know,
wasn't- sorry,
you
I
know,
didn't know
it was not the
that's
Jews who
wrong.
benefited. It was for long term. Speaking long term, right? It was the workers.
the workers.
Yes.
So I mean, the Russians.
I mean, when you
went to-
take into consideration like extreme industrialization, and like improvement of the economy, and like literacy being almost eradicated, many scientific developments. I think laser surgery was one of the most pioneered like technologies. Space technology, like beating the Americans in like the space race essentially. Oh, but the Americans got to the moon first. Oh, whoop-de-doo, they did one thing better than
I
the
know they progressed.
Soviets.
I'm not saying they didn't
So
progress.
yeah. So yes, I would say that the workers benefited.
No, hold on a
That's
second.
technology for the whole nation, not for the individual, though.
So listen to
good-
what
The whole
you
nation
said.
includes individual. Like if you're saying that the whole nation does not include the individual, that's
No.
kind of-
I'm just raising the point that there were lots of technological advancements, but that didn't drop down to the average worker, did it?
Yeah, I'm gonna
because-
assume it did. I mean, if you're talking about the education and the science and stuff, that like would directly
Yeah, but hold on.
improve like standards of living.
Okay, education, yes. Sciences in the terms of space travel, no.
No, yeah, no, of course that. But I mean, that will have like other implications, such as like civilian industries, like TV or whatever. You know.
So they lost 50 million almost in the entire USSR countries that were in it.
What's the
You're
cause?
the
Because I
Ukrainian.
can, what's the cause? Because I can cite like American like murder rates, and I'm like, oh, you see, capitalism doesn't work because murder.
No, I'm
it's like
saying
because
it's
people die, and
specific
it's just
war. It's about
makes
war.
no
Listen,
sense.
if you're gonna bring up
And-
the Holodomor, you
Yeah, it never
gotta
happened.
know.
You have to
No,
listen.
hold on
Yeah,
a
it's
second.
just it's questionable.
Listen,
Hold on a
okay,
second.
it happened in the sense of
Let
the
me just
famine,
ask
but
this
if it was the government doing it, you're wrong.
You
Let me
guys,
just
just
answer
relax. Don't
Yeah,
get
sorry.
angry. Yeah, just
Sorry, I'm
don't
very.
get don't get. I get you're passionate, but please
Just
just
chill out, man. Chill out.
take it down a notch, because
Let me-
otherwise you're all gonna end up screaming at each other, and we won't get anything productive
Okay,
from this.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
I just want to. It's the same rhetoric that the EFF used during the October Revolution of Russia, under different contexts, but the same strategy. That you have the working class that is totally undermined by the bourgeoisie, and the proletariat is the suffering oppressed. And you know what they threw in that
Wait.
basket as well was the farmer. They threw the farmers, and the farmers got attacked. That sounds exactly what South Africa is going to. And you're going to call that like a natural, okay development.
No, of
Because then
course
you-
not. What do you mean?
No, but I'm just saying. Like, I'm not saying it's okay, but it's the same principles. And
I wouldn't
it's,
even.
it's the same as saying that like Africans can't figure things out themselves. But yet, 100 years ago, our white Christian people fell for the same bullshit. And you think that's natural?
No, I never.
it's
What?
total-
I never made a claim
so
on any of this. This is
So
straw
what
man.
I'm trying to prove is there's outside interest. We got onto. That's my point.
Yeah. Okay. So the
outside interests that are funding things like that. It wasn't
Okay,
some sort of
so-
organic Russian movement.
Okay. So so first off, you have to still provide evidence that it was like those like outside influences besides like
I-
Germany. But I'm so busy.
By logic,
Besides,
Give me
yeah,
an
no,
example.
Okay, yeah, but by logic, then I'll be like, okay, you're wrong because that's not what the Russian
I'm giving you
revolution was
facts.
for.
What's happened?
No, you're
saying
not. You're just saying this is not facts. This is just using
these
like a
are
logical
two
argument.
examples.
No. Okay, again,
Can
this
you
doesn't.
source what you're saying?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
send
Like
the
Dave?
links.
Just,
Just send the
just
link.
send us some links, please, so we
Yeah,
Okay,
can
this,
do
this,
some.
this is Dave.
To my
This is just
knowledge,
hearsay.
Danger,
This
Dave.
isn't like a fact at this point. It's just hearsay, and like you're trying to say
Come
that
on,
you're getting this
Ju-
from
Just let
logic.
them. Just get your links and post it. Post.
Yeah,
No,
but I
post
saw
links.
I
Just get your
wanna.
links.
Okay. Okay. Wait.
Okay, but I
Danger,
still wanna.
Dave. You're
Names,
telling
that's
us.
what you need. You need corporate names, and you want actual names of who.
Yeah, I
funded.
want
No.
like documents or
So-
something, not necessarily corporate names, but like
Yeah,
So
I'd be
can't
happy if you could just give us sources that indicate what you're saying, that there is even just a trajectory, not just
yeah,
your,
but like
your
I
word.
still
You don't
wanna,
have to give specific names.
I still wanna respond to like one other point you made. That being of like the farmers and stuff. The EFFC, the farmers, is kind of like they kind of lump them together with white people, and they kind of use identity politics to a very like large extent to kind of kind of pit like black people or black poor people against them because they see them as rich and all that jazz, right? And they use the race against that as well. That's like one and the same, right? Because apparently like so whites own a lot of farm or whatever. But when you look at like Soviet Union and like farm attacks or whatever, like I didn't see the same, like unless you're talking about like during the Civil War, which they like but they participated in like war communism, which was essentially like doing whatever means necessary to win the war, which involved like seizing some food from some rural areas. But other than that, there wasn't like major persecution of farmers. The only case of this would be
Can I-
like the
But Munir, you
kulaks,
know
but that
that
wasn't even a
What about
persecution.
me?
the gulags weren't. The gulags weren't persecution of who?
I never mentioned the gulags once.
You just said you ended off saying the gulags.
I never mentioned the gulags.
Oh, sorry.
I said the
Misheard.
kulaks. I said the kulaks. Sorry.
Oh, what's the kulaks?
These
A kulak is a landowner.
yeah, essentially. But like in it was just
You
it
know
was
what
just
gulags is?
the gulags. Yeah, they were work camps basically.
War camps. Okay. Well, anyway, so
Work.
Work.
Not war camps. Work.
okay, so you
all the
know
accents in chat.
on the farmer topic, the Soviets knew it's not just the Soviet military, but they know that if you gain control over the food system, you immediately have control over the country. It's the same as the EFF, and it's the same as the Soviet Union. It was a direct parallel. It wasn't just like a specific. We don't like the farmers because of they got money. They just wanted what they had.
Okay. Maybe may I say something? The EFF specifically, I don't think they've said that as much, but the BLM party, that's very smaller. Okay, someone needs to correct me here. Did they come directly from the EFF? Okay, then
That's BLF.
we know for a fact, or not a fact, we have very good reason to believe that that is rhetoric within the EFF, which they wanted to make more real. So if you want to say the EFF has a point about taking farmland and just giving it to black people, and along with other industry, then yes, sure, you have a point. Okay, maybe a suggestion be it as a rhetoric in the EFF, because I listen to my lemmas sometimes, but I don't like doing it. But so I'm not too sure about this. But maybe it is a rhetoric in the EFF that they want to take land purely for economic reasons as well as just taking it away from YT. Then it would make sense that the reason they left is because it's not explicit enough. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, I want to study the EFF, but it's very difficult since it's so autistic to listen to them speak. You can feel your brain cells rotting
just
away.
fucking getting sucked up into the void.
Yep. like I don't know if the average black person, like I don't know if the EFF could ever win. I think there's a lot of appeal, but jeez, I don't know a black South African well enough to say that the EFF definitely never could win an election, because I don't believe there's a political solution in South Africa for us. I think for the EFF and for black nationalists, there is a very real and very almost unstoppable political solution, because the black people are starting to hate the ANC. So what's the options? The DA, which is a Cox party, which no one has any respect for, or the EFF, which is actually quite, they get shit done. They have the ability to follow through. What? Oh, the Incontinent Freedom Party, yes, but I think they are more Zulu focused, which would be a deterrent for. Yes, but okay, then in that case, if I wanted to stay in this country and I had no hopes for anything we discussed tonight, I would lobby for the IFP. Like my entire life depended on it. Like I would, wherever I could, and say everyone vote IFP. That's the only hope we have. But I vote for the smaller parties like the Freedom Front, just because that gives them a little more power in Parliament. I don't really. It's a throwaway vote, to be honest. I actually voted Cape Party just for fucking shits and giggles. So the actual the solution party would get a bigger voice, but yeah, nothing really came of it.
See, that's base.
Yep, that makes sense. I mean, I think for one thing that the average white South African who actually wants to have a political opinion needs to get out of the mindset that they shouldn't care about what the blacks are doing, because as it turns out, what the blacks are doing has a very big impact on what we should do and what we can do.
I'm glad you're saying this. I think I'm in to a degree now.
Fellas,
As far as
I gotta go away, and I'll be right back.
That's fine.
If y'all left by the time I come back, great discussion, guys.
I think we'll be on for another hour
Keep it
or
up.
so.
All right, I'll be back, fellas.
Yeah, Jable.
See you later.
Jable. Okay, no, that's fine then, bro.
No, then enjoy.
Okay.
Can we actually kill the YouTube stream? Because I mean, then we can at least. No, but I'm just saying there's certain, I think, important understandings that we need to have that are generally not allowed on.
He wants to talk about something that he doesn't want. He's a bit more
Small
edgy.
hat tribe.
YouTube stream?
Not extreme. It's just they just politically unacceptable.
No, there's a YouTube stream.
Yeah, maybe Jewel, if you want to end off, so we about
Yeah, I
the
think
other
that'd be a good
things
idea.
that
So
might
we can-
get you in trouble.
No, I also don't want to have like my opinion on
Yeah.
YouTube. Thank you very much. Actually, I don't mind it, but like it just they're like tripwires, and if someone finds a YouTube video
Of you talking about esoteric Hitlerism, then you're in fucking shit.
Holy shit.
well, actually, that's part of it. Like,
Right,
actually, no, that's an example. I've never thought of that, but like
He lives in the
Yeah,
UK.
that's
He'd
what I
be
want to
thrown
say
out.
as an
Like,
example.
no,
You
there's
can't even
a
discuss
lot of
certain things without getting in trouble. Like even if you
there's a
don't
lot of
approve of them.
yes, and I think especially on so-called conservative nationalism, like there's a lot of differences.
It's a loaded concept. Yes.
And I want to talk about figures like Putin, Stalin, Hitler, and all the different beliefs in
Based
who's
Stalin.
you know what I'm saying. So and there's a lot of things that you can't really say on YouTube. So
Yeah,
all the big niggas.
Yo, just end the stream now. End the stream.
yeah, in the YouTube.
End it.
How many views do you have? Dude?
No, end it.
How many? Though? How many active users?
One, I think that's currently me, and I'm not busy watching it at all. I've got in the background and I've got muted.
Yeah. You must cross over to D Live, bro. D Live.
D Live. No, I
It's
shouldn't.
Uncensored streaming.
The first thing I get is D Live PewDiePie. I'm like, bro. What?
No. Because also, like, if I go on home stream as a YouTuber, they're never gonna put your streaming thing in the suggest that you won't even make near that. So if you go on D Live now, you'll probably find that you'll be up there, and people log on, and next thing you got like 50 to 100 viewers. They just
that's cute.
No, but also they can donate you Lemon, which is their cryptocurrency that you can buy.
It's a crypto? Holy shit.
Yeah, you buy the crypto. So, and the thing is, like Patreon works. So you don't have a direct transaction because your transactions with the D Live platform, which is Lemon, and then however you want to hand out your Lemon is obviously up to you. So it's also like it's growing fast and it's helping the national movements in the UK, America.
I'll be right back.
A lot of them have like just abandoned YouTube. Well, they have their streams, but they always have it on D Live. YouTube's dead, dude. Like most of these guys said that once they crossed over to D Live, they had so many more viewers, and they thought because they were actually suppressing the numbers. So YouTube is just like they won't tell you that you're successful. Like they want you to be like, "Oh, this is useless," and a lot of it. No, not successful. I'm saying your outreach is very minimal. Meantime, you have more viewers, but they're hiding them. Like they won't show you your true viewer count. Like,
Do you have any evidence for this at all?
Okay, if you want, I'll post. Like, you know what? I'll create a whole library of links.
Sorry to be that lad. Citation, source, please.
Yeah, that was literally me like a couple ago. But
okay, so
I'm still waiting, bro.
Most of what I just said
essay?
is based on actual content creators that said that the moment is live, even though they've got like quadruple the followers or subscribers on more than quadruple on YouTube, their live streams are significantly higher and their watches are significantly higher on D Live. And there shouldn't be any reasoning for that other than like suppression and shadow banning and all that shit. Where if you don't believe in that kind of shit, go Google something on Google and then Google it on DuckDuckGo. Something that's a contentious issue, especially when it comes to naming.
Naming.
Like
Naming
you can't.
the tribes.
You can't. If you go search for a term then and go search on DuckDuckGo, you'll pull up way more results. That's just happening on YouTube, dude. That's what I'm saying. There's no point. And if you want proof of this, like I will give you there's really all this mass lobbying censorship about the too many nationalist Nazis on fucking YouTube, and we want to shut you down. There was even a total blackout on Twitter 2 weeks ago from the Jewish community because of that rapper in the UK. That was just he went on this rampage on Twitter, posting these videos like the Jewish people are fucking with me. I'm not scared of their shit, and he's a black a black UK rapper, and he was just like, these fucking people control me. I ain't scared of him. So he was speaking out, and a lot of the people are like, fucking, don't shut this guy down, and like the whole of the media, his boss like disowned. Everyone's like, oh, this guy's disowned, and then all the black people are like, what the fuck? So is it okay to hate everyone else, but the moment you name a Jew, then it's not acceptable? Like it's okay for the blacks. So that's, and everyone's like catching on to that shit.
Yeah, black people in America are actually getting very anti-Semitic, especially in fucking New York. Because you guys hear about all the attacks this year, like before Corona started. There was almost a whole xenophobic pandemic of fucking black people attacking Jewish men on the streets. Oh yeah.
The Hebrew Israelites.
The black Hebrews, you mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, you can't cut the YouTube video now. Like, I hope it's cut, because this debate now needs like a whole nother 3 hours to all of us to explain ourselves. You know.
I wasn't aware that there was a YouTube stream, and I'm over here talking about Jews.
Look, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Jew.
No problem.
I'm not racist.
Hey,
I just
guys,
don't like
I'm
them.
not anti-Semitic. Hold up.
There's,
I still like them. They're weird.
there
Yeah,
might be
simple as.
underrepresented in
The
Hold
only
on.
thing we've said up until this point is people are getting very anti-Semitic. I think that's a fair statement because you can see it all over the world, and you can interpret that like you want. You can say it's a problem. You can say it's a good thing. That's all up to you. We
Well,
just
actually,
noted it.
I pity them because they also use as a proxy.
Yeah,
Like,
because
to
what I
expand.
tell people is you get such a thing as a normal Jew. I mean, every Jew doesn't fucking get together in his little synagogue and plan to take over the world tomorrow. I mean, no.
Just most of them.
If you want to say that.
Yeah, but you know what? If you wanna buy into that, it's all of them. Then, especially from the whole sovereignty, you know, it's very easy. Then where do we take ethno nationalism and singular religion to? You know, if we're gonna obsess about that, and then that's almost. I think maybe the Jews are a very good example of extreme forms of ethno-nationalism and monotheism.
I think the only explanation, personally, anyway, is the Jews are essentially like God's chosen people, as in, like, it's confirmed, it's Catholic dogma, right, that the Antichrist will be circumcised. So he's obviously going to be Jewish.
Are you going to
So,
cite that? Are you going to post a
Huh?
link? Are you going to post
What
a
you mean?
link?
I don't need to cite that. That's in the Catechism.
Show me
Read
the
Saint
verse.
Jerome. Like, that's church history. Like,
No,
yeah.
show us the verse.
I mean, the
it's
Bible.
not directly in the Bible. I'm not
it's-
told a
it's-
scriptura.
It's
Like,
probably in take it 1 second. In the Bible, that she says the Antichrist needs to be seated in the temple in Jerusalem. Who is the only group in the world who is trying to rebuild that temple?
Where does it say this?
In the Book of Revelation.
yeah, but even if
Are you going
it
to
didn't say
put
that,
that there?
I will put that there. Just give me a second.
thing about it is, even if it didn't say that, like, you're coming from the perspective of sola scriptura, like Martin Luther tier, like autism. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Just because it wasn't written in the Bible doesn't mean it's not true. The Bible is not like an index of things that are true and aren't true.
I disagree in the Orthodox perspective that the Bible is a sort of loose constitution to the religion, that nothing you believe can actually directly contradict it. But whatever, it's a different discussion.
Explain that.
Essentially, the Orthodox believe the Bible isn't like the fucking Quran or something that it's perfect, but you don't have dogma that contradicts it ever.
Well, yeah, that's the Catholic opinion as well. I wasn't saying
okay,
that it
then we're on
wasn't.
the same page. They're on the same page.
Yeah, I'm
let me
not
just
saying
get
like
the
it
Bible
can be
verse.
interpreted. It can't be interpreted a certain way. There's one way to interpret it.
Uh, Bible verse. I know more or less what the verse looks like. I don't know the Bible out of my head.
This is what I'm saying. This topic can really be very vast and hard to dissect. I just think that we know that the Jews, even those that did die in Germany, although obviously during the Holocaust, yeah, even them, like whichever way you buy into the Holocaust realism, they also did some. They were a natural sacrifice. So the Jewish leaders, if they were part in it, whether it was from the Soviet side or the Nazi side, they sacrificed their own people for their own, and in their own tradition, in their scriptures, they even say some will be sacrificed.
Disavow.
Okay, I don't have the verse yet because I keep fucking running into crappy Protestant sites talking about the end times. But here's just one, just one, so you know what I'm not making shit up. Danger Dave. Here you go.
No, you don't have to find it out.
What's this?
I'll find you the direct verse because I want it for myself now as well, so you guys can continue.
Look.
Okay, here we go. Says 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4. A man of lawlessness will profane the temple by entering it and declaring himself to be God. So this means the temple, one, has to be rebuilt in a modern context, and two, he would claim just hold on, and two, he would claim that he is the Messiah, because the Messiah has to claim that he is God, and then the whole idea of the new Antichrist is that he will be claimed that he is God.
Yeah, because it's say in Jerusalem.
Yes. Yes, in Jerusalem. Yep. Obviously, if you read the entire context of the whole verse, but yes, in that specific sense, it doesn't include the word the Jerusalem, but in context, you see it as Jerusalem.
No, it doesn't say precise Jerusalem.
In the other verses, yes, but not in that one specific verse. But you shouldn't ask for that one specific verse because you can't interpret the Bible that way.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you that's why it's very open. And that's what's created the evangelical Christian, is the ones that are actually Zionist Christians. So, and it's kind of funny because even Willem Petzner identified as the evangelical.
I like Willem Petzner, but his religious views are fucking trash. I'm not even going to bother with him. That's in context.
But what we're demonstrating is disagreement of religion. Like, that's why I say to judge the Jews is we should judge ourselves as well. And as Christians of all kinds, we've all fucked up. So, and I just think if we remove the Jews tomorrow, there will be another Jews. There will be something else that will replace it. Like there's that a bad Christian is a bad Jew. A psycho Christian is a psycho Jew. And I think to be of this cancel culture, like we have to just exterminate. What you're trying to do is you're trying to dismiss any flaws in our own existence.
Yep. That is true. The Romanian guy talked about the other day said just explicitly it's like a swamp with mosquitoes. If you have that problem, whether it be Jews or any group that is, let's say, benefiting off of your society, this is not because of the group, it's just because your society allows it by its structure.
Weaknesses. Yeah, of course. I mean, there's two ways that we can argue that, but if you're always going to find a victim. And all I'm saying is, and an oppressor. We just keep breeding societies that aren't. And I think that's what, going back to our opening statement about the Jews have accomplished a lot through their unity and their common goal. And you know what? They have somehow outsmarted and out evolved many of us in our ways of. It might be expansionary, and if we're going to criticize them of global colonization, it seems a bit hypocritical. Like, we should just be going, what is it in our societies? And at least us stepping forward, going, we know what we want now as societies, and this is what we want to breed. Not we're going to find our enemies and we want to kill them from this earth. That's like such a self-defeating, circular cancer of all human races. So it's obviously, it's evil. So for someone that is so anti-Semitic at its, like, in the true sense of it, is the same, and that's where I criticize some Afrikaners, is where it's like, when I hear them talk about the British, I just replace that word with EFF and whites, and it's almost the same conversation. It's like it's just the circular.
It's cause and effect, though. Like, you understand, like, there's reasons for this.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
It's
reasons for this,
obviously
but the
reasons.
point he's making is just that if you shouldn't ever try to be a victim. You should always live as if there are problems around you, and you are focused on the internal rather than the external, which is a good way to live. At the end of the day, because the thing the thing that people have a problem with Black Americans is that they have too much of a victimhood culture, and they keep talking about reparations and such and so forth, and that is actually, and this is what Black conservative speakers say in America, that this is bad for Black people, and this is destroying Black people, because they can, if you make your whole identity a victim, you will become weak and you will completely crumble and fall eventually.
It's true. I mean, there's this like concept I think that could apply here, but basically the premise is that your beliefs will impact your actions. So if you were to have this belief that certain people are a certain way, and you are like indirect, like if you can affect their life. For instance, if I think that Johnny's a terrible basketball player and I'm his coach, right? He's gonna see this in my actions.
It's gonna translate into reality,
and then it's gonna translate into reality even further and further and become like a cycle. And then my actions of being a terrible basketball player will then may reaffirm his belief that I'm a terrible basketball player, and then we'll go on like that.
Yeah, that's actually Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius explicitly said that you are your thoughts, and that's it. That goes. The same thing goes for a nation, and it's the collective unconscious. If your collective unconscious is this inferiority complex that we're all a victim, and we can't affect our situation, like our hands are tied, and we have no control, then essentially you're gonna fall.
Yeah, I like Stoicism in the sense that you reject you don't let the what's happening around you affect you. You just kind of focus on yourself, right? It's like you're very.
Nietzsche really hated Stoicism, surprisingly. I think his critique of Stoicism.
I read a lot of these.
I think Nietzsche's criticism of Stoicism is bad, though, because I didn't read too much, though, so full disclaimer. But one of the points he made is that Stoicism has a fundamental assumption that it is good for you to act in this manner, and why would you assume that? What's your reason for believing this? And I thought that was because instinct is a reality at the end of the day. Everything doesn't have to be purely intellectual.
Yeah, I can't believe you guys went on like a psychological, esoterical, spiritual proof of what we just said about racial bias, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, psychology can go into politics. There's no reason it shouldn't. And same with philosophy. These things all tie into politics. As politics is, at the end of the day, it's just a system of governance. And system of governance in the collective mind. That's what it comes down to. Yep, makes sense, man. Revelation. That verse you posted from Revelation, it specifically referred to the people who would go on to found the Judaist religion. Interesting enough, that specific faction. So then, like, I mean, like that's a religious debate, though. And we should actually talk about religion again some night, Mr. McLean.
Yeah.
Since you're a Catholic and I'm Orthodox, we could maybe have some interesting points to discuss.
Yeah, I'd love that debate as well.
What debate? I just trying. Sorry.
Not a debate
Religions.
though, because I don't like debating religion. Just discussing.
No,
it.
no, no. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
discuss.
Because I don't really attribute to the idea that you can debate religion, because then it's you discuss it.
Yeah, but I think
But you can debate it if you just want to have a screaming contest and just make the other person feel
You
bad.
can-
Because at the end of the day, if you believe your religion is right, you want the other person to believe you, essentially.
Depends
Yeah,
on
I
your
think-
approach,
I
really.
don't-
Like the rationalist approach to religion, like you do believe like there's a reasonable, like you have defined reasons why you're Catholic, and the sort of mystic sort of approach is it's more of a spiritual, more of a feeling thing. It can be motivated by reason as well, obviously, but it's just different feelings.
I
towards
think
religion.
at least in terms of Christianity, you always need to back up what you believe with theology. I believe there's actually verses in the
Yeah.
scriptures that
Yeah.
say that specifically. So there's
Yeah,
no
it's just
more
justification.
predominant,
You can
like-
still use like philosophy and stuff to kind of justify your beliefs.
Yeah.
If you take religion as the authoritative source of all morality, then maybe not. But I mean,
I think most
specifically your religion and your God and what you believe, not
Yeah, most-
religion in general.
most Christians believe that that there's some objective moral, and I don't see a reason why not. If I was a Christian, which I'm not, I would believe in the same thing, because you've got an ultimate justification for your morals.
Yes, Christianity maybe couldn't even work without that. But
I think now we
I
now
don't
we
think we
do.
would be able to, unless you're like
Can I,
directly misinterpreting it.
can I ask does anyone have the belief that there's a non-compromised leader in this world currently?
A non-compromised one.
explain.
What do
What
you?
is
Yeah.
what is the one
Like a leader
non-compromising?
That's
He just hasn't backed down on his morals, and
no, that he's actually not representing the interests of his people, but of the global elite.
Of
Yeah,
the tribe.
What do you? If you're referring to what I think you are, I don't subscribe to this whole theory of like the global elite of as I think you're referring to. I think they do represent the global elite in the sense that they prop up a system that promotes them. It might be
Yeah, okay.
misguided in the sense,
Okay,
or
but
they might be.
Can everyone else answer before just
Oh,
debunking?
sorry.
For those,
Yeah,
Just
sorry?
stream. I'll be telling you this, bro.
I'm sure they would love that. Anyway, but yeah, just for those guys that think that the global elite exists.
Okay, I'll come out and say first, I believe it could exist in a possible form, but I am not informed enough in any way, shape, or form to define such a form.
Someone who's naturally for the people and will be truly representative of their interests.
Oh, you mean a person who's an actual leader? I don't believe there's I don't believe there's anyone like that at the moment. There is
Yeah.
no / our guy, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, there's no
Oh,
strong man. in
Yes.
this.
That's true. That's true.
So no. When I say that if you say that's true though, you agreeing that they
No, I
Well,
agree in the sense of what a strong man means, and like our
no,
guy.
but
I'm disagreeing in the sense that I don't believe in this like global world order of like whatever people gunga.
Okay,
no,
yeah,
but I'm saying like
that's a
if they're
different.
serving it outside.
Yeah, but that's a different thing. So don't worry about it. Yep.
As in, let's just say my theory is that they all report to the World Bank.
It's QAnon, bro. QAnon.
Whoever your elite is, do you think that there's true opposition for, let's say, Russia?
No.
Do you think
I
that
agree in that
Russia
point.
and China are a true counterpower to America and the West?
Like-
To America and the West, yes, but
I
to
will-
to the international system that we live under today, no.
I like the trajectory that certain countries are under. and I believe that there could be a positive reason for this, but I don't believe that anyone is pure of any form of corruption because the corruption runs too deep. Yep.
Yeah.
I,
Yep.